start from the beginning because there are people who are here who might not be League of Legends fans or might just be D&D fans or are like me and are kind of sitting in the middle and like the rest of us. And so what is Bilgewater? Because that's chapter 1, the history of Bilgewater. Because if you click on using this source, it's kind of just like, that's it. Two sentences.
I will say the thing that I really enjoy, and like I will say this as someone who has always been a little bit biased towards like PDF source books and the fact that you can hit the search button in them. Like the thing I really love is I hadn't really taken a look at the D&D products in like their product form. I've been always using it on the character sheets or in the compendiums. The layout of this is fantastic. Like it's so convenient the way that D&D Beyond sets up their content, the way they set it. And I hadn't really noticed that before, and going through this in like piecemeal was super cool.
D&D Beyond was like a huge game changer for me. It was I was so against it for the longest time. I was like, oh, I don't want to read I was literally like, I like flipping through books. It's so much faster. Like, I was like, I couldn't do the PDFs, and even though PDFs are a lot more accessible for a lot of people, and me in many ways, I couldn't get into the idea of D&D Beyond. Yeah. And then I sold out, and Wizards was like, do you want everything? And I said, sure, and then I loved D&D Beyond.
Yeah, like the price point is definitely, like if you've already bought the stuff, is an axe to grind, but I don't know. I'm the kind of person who's like, most of the stuff I got for D&D from D&D was free because I worked conventions and it just gave books out. And so like I had a bunch of books I hadn't bought and I loved having them. And then I went, no, I would literally just buy this. Like I would buy this and then get a subscription because I don't have to do any of the other things anymore. Our players don't have to go hunting for their PHBs every time we're at a table. They just have one because I have one and I don't have to pass around the table every 30 seconds.
And I didn't know that initially.
Yeah.
And D&D Beyond, honestly, is what helped me teach my parents how to play D&D.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
Literally what taught them. Because you could, I love how you can hover over things. And I love now that you have a subscription, there's a dice roller built into it.
Yep.
And it's very, very pretty.
As someone who started with Pathfinder and who basically was just the Pathfinder SRD online was like everything I used.
Oh, yeah.
This is just a cleaner version of that.
For sure.
Actual nice layout.
It's an SRD, but designed with like the internet in mind.
Yeah.
Because like the old wiki SRDs are like they were functional, but oh man.
But that Pathfinder one was a whole other level of accessibility because it was free.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was free.
Yeah.
This is true.
Like, I have so many friends who got into it because of that.
For sure.
So let's go now. So we got history of Bilgewater. So wait, as somebody who's new to League of Legends, Bilgewater is just like one setting. It's one city in Runeterra, right?
A quick like League.
Go for it.
Essentially, right? Like the League of Legends world building is we need a place to have X thing come from. We're gonna for a region. They needed a place for pirates and pirate myths to fit in.
Of course, because there are pirate characters.
Yep.
So
like Bilgewater is where all the pirate sea myths, things like giant like evil creatures from the depths, Davy Jones locker type myths, gamblers, etc. come from.
Yeah, it's their port archetype, right? So and then like there's ones that is like there's the lawful good paladin kingdom over there in Demacia. There's like the everybody for themselves, but also oddly like meritocracy-ish.
Yeah.
Not like it's confusing. Noxus. There's like, there's Oriental Adventures Ionia.
Yeah. That's what it's called?
It's called Ionia. Yeah. And then there's like a bunch of other regions like Piltover and Zon, which is their like technological city.
Right. The current state of the like lore, Noxus and Demacia are the two big ones, and then the rest are like either city states or destroyed. Like Ionia has been conquered by Noxus. Bilgewater is just a port city, stuff like that.
Which heroes fall under Noxus?
Darius,
Draven,
LeBlanc, Swain, Katarina.
Oh, cool. So the Asian world got conquered by the white people again.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Anyway, that's a whole
other thing.
That's a whole other
thing. So Bilgewater, that's like Misfortune. Is Twisted Fate is a Bilgewater character?
Yeah.
Because they're a gambler.
which is why my background
that's him.
Yep.
Yeah.
I guess Thresh is Thresh.
Thresh is from
Shadow
the
Isles.
Shadow Isles. So
Okay.
the Shadow Isles and Bilgewater are really close to each other.
Right.
And the Shadow Isles is like the spoopy archetype for, right? Like all the weird, ghostly, undead, demonic nonsense mostly comes from there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Shadow Isles, the reason why Bilgewater and the Shadow Isles are so closely interlinked is because of a phenomenon called the harrowing, where basically the Shadow Isles will spill out across the ocean, and basically the first thing it hits is Bilgewater. So one of the island, so Bilgewater is actually a bunch of islands technically, but the Bilgewater is specifically one of the cities on one of those islands that is like the one where everyone else is, but there's a whole other culture that lives on all the other islands.
It's like New York State and New York City, essentially.
Oh,
right,
cool,
basically,
cool.
yeah. So like that other island culture vaguely tolerates Bilgewater as long as they stay in Bilgewater, and Bilgewater was like, that seems fine.
So
Again, like New York State and New York City.
yeah,
Right, exactly. So that island and those cultures have been like sort of traditionally, they are the ones that beat back the harrowing every time it sort of rolls back out across the ocean.
So they're like a hardy people who are used to conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way. Okay, so who are the
Ilawi comes from there.
Who are
from
the
like the rest parts of the
who
island.
are the Buru?
The Buru is that island.
Okay,
the
that's
other
that
culture.
island. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Interesting. So this is basically like one of those pirate cities, and they just kind of built on top of each other.
Yeah,
And
like there's a really neat. Hold up, I have it as a background because I'm running a pirate game, and it turns out that there's a lot of really good art from League of Legends that you can use.
That you could use for your D&D game.
Yeah, right. So this is, if you can sort of see it, they're like built upon like wreckages of ships and stuff like that have been sort of converted into
Like in
dwellings and
Monster Hunter
cities.
World.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just like Monster Hunter
very
World. Cool.
very similar thing to that for sure. And this is the Slaughter Dock, which is another section of Bilgewater we'll get to later, I assume.
Okay, so this is a place of piracy. This is a place of freedom. That's good. I'm trying to figure out like what is Bilgewater's thematic identity, and it's like piracy, freedom.
It's like the urban fantasy city where everything goes.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay,
like
cool.
it's like fantasy angry Las Vegas. Is
Okay.
actually, I think it's like
Okay,
that's
so
the
it's
closest thing I
Pirate
can think of.
Vegas.
Pretty much, yeah. Like everything goes as long as you do. Like everything, like it's a huge lawless like clusterfuck.
And occasionally you get deep sea terrors coming out to
Yeah, with occasional just angry deep sea apocalypse for no apparent reason. Yeah.
I mean, Deep Sea Apocalypse is good.
There's a lot of
True.
different nomadic cultures as well, which I'm sure we'll
Okay.
cover in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
In the years that followed, a pirate captain named Gangplank. Is that a champion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't played Gangplank
That's
because there are too many.
Amusingly enough, actually voiced by Matt Mercer. Which
Oh,
is
no
just
way.
It's a hysterical, like, tiny trivia bit that I was like, haha, that's funny.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Came to serve as the unofficial ruler of Bilgewater, crowning himself the Reaver King. He held this position of influence for years until an attempted assassination on his life by a bounty hunter named Sarah Fortune. So now know as Misfortune.
Yep.
While Gangplank managed to survive this attempt, his ship and its most faithful followers were destroyed, forcing him to disappear from public view. In the power vacuum following Gangplank's supposed death, a ruling body called the Corsairs Conclave formed. The Conclave was composed of the four most influential captains of Bilgewater, including Sarah Fortune. They divided Bilgewater into territories to enforce their rule. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So initially it's just populated by refugees who are seeking freedom. They've been given this land, and then factions kind of arise, which makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. After some peaceful years, 3 members of the Corsairs Conclave decided to band together and eliminate Sarah from their ranks. Following this betrayal, okay, so if you were not a League of Legends fan,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're like Sarah Fortune, and then they say Misfortune, is there a reason why she doesn't go by Sarah Fortune?
Mostly she goes by Captain now. Yeah. So Misfortune is one of the earlier characters in the game,
Okay.
and kind of has suffered from a lot of Riot rework lore issues where they've sort of changed things over multiple times, and a bunch of different iterations. And she used to just be Misfortune as like her super K for a while,
Right.
and then Sarah Fortune sort of became the name she took she's still Miss Fortune in the game, but like she's Sarah Fortune now, or Captain Fortune for the most part, lore wise. But like the game kind of does a wibbly wobbly where it doesn't quite keep the same thing.
Gotcha. So it's either Captain Fortune or Miss Fortune, and this Sarah Fortune is kind of an old thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Staged a coup where she successfully murdered or banished the traitorous captains. Following this bloody event, Sarah became the only power remaining to control Bilgewater. As of late, Gangplank has begun to make his presence known in the city. He has garnered the support of the Buru in Bilgewater and grows his supporters, aiming to claim his throne from Miss Fortune once again. So, again, the Buru are the people of this island?
Yeah, of the islands that are basically like, you can have this city, just don't
go anywhere else.
This is where you stay, and everyone else went. That seems about right.
Sounds cool.
It's notable that one of the bigger characters in the Buru in terms of the champions that list is Ilawi, who is the priestess of a religion that we'll get to probably down.
There's the Shadow Isles in Noxus. I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bilgewater is a free city, flourishing with opportunity. These opportunities have given rise to a great many parties interested in controlling what Bilgewater has to offer. While there is no formal government established in Bilgewater, it is a city teeming with factions, each looking to further their own goals and agendas. Some of the active powers that shape life in Bilgewater are presented below. So, Soldiers of Fortune, I guess named after Miss Fortune.
Yep.
They are the de facto ruling force. Okay.
And here they explain that Sarah Fortune is Miss Fortune.
Yep.
Why did they do that
later?
Earlier?
You would.
You would do it earlier if you were reading it in order. Or because they mentioned Miss Fortune. But that's nitpicking. Don't need to do that.
For sure.
I guess I'm just used to that when we're reading things on stream.
I mean, it's a good thing to note, especially for a title like this, where the goal is to like cross the streams of D&D and League, right? So I think like the nitpicking is like, yeah, you could have done it like earlier, which I don't think is a huge note thing, but it's a good thing to note, especially if you're going for a document that's aiming to introduce people to either concept, you know?
True.
Yeah.
Although she holds no official title, her allies and crew members enact her will in the city, applying pressure as needed to achieve her goals. She currently fixates on finding and killing Gangplank, who's previously ruled Bilgewater. So, not much depth to Miss Fortune. Gangplank is the first and only captain to crown himself the Reaver King of Bilgewater. At the height of his power, he was deposed by Miss Fortune, and he now collects allies from the shadows of Bilgewater. His growing band of allies seeks to kill Miss Fortune and restore Gangplank to his place as Reaver King. The Buru inhabited the Serpent Isles for thousands of years before mainlanders founded Bilgewater. The Buru still dominate the Isles, and foreigners to their shores are only allowed to settle in Bilgewater. The Buru have their own language, capital city, and religion centered around the worship of the great Kraken Nagakabouros. The culture of the Buru influences much of Bilgewater, and a healthy population of Buru live in the city. While Buru tolerate the settlement, the majority of them consider it to be a stain on their island. There's a lot to say there.
Yeah.
See, at this point, I think the Buru are really interesting because I want to know why they even bother to keep Bilgewater here if they don't like it. Obviously, it's for game, but...
Yeah, I think one of the big things, too, is that Bilgewater faces the direction that the Shadow Isles is, and because of the, amount of murder. So the Shadow Isles draw their power off of, I think, for the most part, things like the dead and, kind of going that way.
Right.
And for the most part, I think the general bent of it, and I could be wrong, is that mostly it hits Bilgewater first. And so there's always, they kind of tend to know where it's coming through, at least as far as what I remember from the lore.
Okay, that makes
sense.
So
there's always a city there full of people that they allow to move around back and forth, because there's a lot of people in the League of Legends world that will actively go fight things in the Shadow Isles if they're allowed to. So that's kind of where they come through and make their points. So like Lucian does that. Lucian and Senna used to do that. Olaf does that occasionally. We'll just go out and fight a Kraken because he's bored, because
why not?
Because Olaf. But that's kind of where some of that kind of comes into as well.
It's also one of those things where there is actively a war that never ends going on through Runeterra because Noxus exists.
Yeah.
And so having pirates in case the war shows up might not be the worst, because
Yeah, because they're already fighting like a war against the Shadow Isles, so why are they fighting a second war against Noxus is a pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it seems like Bilgewater is kind of a buffer for the dark creatures and forces that come from the Shadow Isles.
Yeah.
Are there any Buru characters in the game?
Alawi. Yeah,
Okay.
Alawi's like there's one right now, which is Alawi.
And then there's Twisted Fate used to be from one of the nomadic Serpent Isle tribes, not Bilgewater proper. But I don't think they ever specified which.
Yeah, I think they might have changed that recently.
Yeah, it used to be a like sort of Romani stereotype along the like slur lines.
Extremely.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to be for a while there, and then they changed him.
Good.
No, so he's still he's still in a nomadic tribes.
Yeah.
It's the Serpentine Delta, which I don't know exactly where that is. I think it's in the Isles, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's within this region then. So his placement within Bilgewater and the Buru sort of landscape makes sense.
Yeah.
So across the seas with the Serpent Isles, the many factions of Runeterra struggle against one another for control. Some of these factions have chosen to ally themselves with Bilgewater, while others seek to consume the city entirely. Shadow Isles. Southeast of the Serpent Isles lies the horrifying region known as the Shadow Isles. Since its corruption during a magical tragedy, the Shadow Isles emit dangerous black mists that routinely threaten the people of Bilgewater. These black mists thicken and travel across the ocean, flooding the Serpent Isles with undead and spirits hungry for victims. That's cool. This event has been known as the Harrowing, and the power of the Buru is the only thing that can keep its might at bay. Noxus, located northwest of the Serpent Isles, is the ever-growing empire of Noxus. Noxians are determined to conquer Runeterra with aggressive expansionist action, and have set their sights on Bilgewater as a potential resource for their naval campaigns. Noxus has not made any hostile action towards Bilgewater, but they have placed key soldiers in the port city, hoping to curry favor with the powers that struggle to control it.
And I will also note that is a bit of a, if I remember correctly, a bit of a recent development in terms of where they're in it, because Noxus did not like Gangplank for a number of reasons, notably of which the big general of Noxus is the champion Swain, and Gangplank literally stole his flagship, like straight up was like, "This mine now, thanks," and like wandered off with it. So they did not like him very much at all.
Okay. So Swain and Darius are Noxus. Anyone else?
Draven, Katarina.
So,
I want to say Talon, but I could be wrong.
Talon is a Noxian assassin. Draven and Darius are executioners. LeBlanc, Katarina, and Cassiopeia are from noble houses and do various politicking and assassinating.
Well, is LeBlanc still a hat? Is that still a thing? I don't remember. Did they change that recently?
As far as I remember, he was one of the like Noxian noble houses.
Okay, because I remember there was and then like so the thing about Noxus, right, is that like it is, despite being like the colonial expansionist empire, it's pretty heavily implied that they're real shitty people, all of them, like in a way that is like, okay, I sort of see it. Specifically Kled, who is just like you're like stereotypical hick southern racist, which is like, anyway, League has some things.
League has some things
Is what I'm going to say about that. But like Noxus is pretty usually portrayed as they suck.
There aren't too many Noxian champions overall. I feel like most part, like Noxus is implied to have like huge amounts of unnamed soldiers and armies. Yeah. And like
Riven, Scion, Swain.
What about Vlad?
Vlad is also from Noxus, technically.
Drew said it's all the white people who wear black.
Yeah,
that's about right, actually.
There's a couple of them who are like ancient evils resurrected.
Yeah, and some of them wear red.
Yeah. If anyone's wearing red, or is usually a big giveaway.
If they're in gamer red or black, it's probably from.
Gotcha. And if they're like blue, yellow, gold, they're from Demacia.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got gamer, like if you've got emo gamer red black, it's from from Noxus. If you have like the blue white like pristine gamer, then it's Demacia.
Then what about Morgana?
Morgana is Morgana and Kayla are weird.
So that's why she has the wings.
Yes. They're not actually from Runeterra. There's a couple of characters that come from outside of Runeterra, which is where it gets funky.
Yep.
Okay, so emo gamer red black is
a mood.
Is a mood. That is a mood.
And then Morgana and Kale are technically allied with Demacia at the moment, or related to it. But they're not like Demacian in the way that most of the other characters are.
Right, like culturally, they don't wear the same stuff. Maybe they don't have the whole values.
Yeah,
they're not even screaming about the might of Demacia in the game.
No, they're screaming about something completely different in general. Usually.
The one exception to the Noxus rule is Riven, who was a Noxian but is like self-imposed exile for the most part.
So edgy.
From Noxus. She's like, oh wait,
she's got the big sword. She's very edgy.
He's the like, hold on, the whole Noxus thing was.
Riven is like the person who's escaped the indoctrination and went, oh, this is horrible. Due to basically when Noxus was conquering Ionia. Riven was part of the army that did that, and then Noxus was like, hey, so we've got these cool chemical weapons, let's try those. And everyone went,
wait,
maybe don't. And Noxus basically used it on everybody on the battle, including their own army, just to kind of like just end it.
Right.
And Riven survived that and went, oh, that's not great.
Hold up, are we the villains?
Yeah, basically.
This is that like Force Awakens moment. Bilgewater,
she has her Finn moment in the middle of that, and then was like, oh god, and then like it's basically been on a journey to figure out what the heck it is she should do from now on anyway.
I just like, are we the bad guys? I just like, are we the, I feel like that's what every single person who's offended by our Asians read videos reacts. Wait, is this bad? Are we the bad guys?
You're not. You're not wrong.
But also, I think we're about to enter an interesting part about economy because I'm starting to skim ahead, and there's some.
I skimmed ahead a bit, and I was okay. We'll see. So economy and trade, and stop me when we want to comment on something. Bilgewater is a city teeming with wealth and opportunity. Residents can make their fortune scouring the seas, hunting those who flee justice. Well, aren't these people who've also done that? Anyway. Or catering to those who do. This is a city of free people. Why
well...
There's a scale. There's a scale.
There's a slide. It's a free people, so there's a sliding scale of morality.
It's one of those things where like you are running from justice, and if you are better at it, you avoid capture, and if you're worse at it, you get captured.
You get captured by the people who are better than you.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, Bilgewater is a very dog eat dog kind of.
And it just says Bilgewater is a lawless city, far from the reaches of the other factions of Runeterra. Yep. Consequently, it attracts plenty of criminals aiming to flee justice. The presence of so many wanted criminals has given rise to a burgeoning population of bounty hunters. Bilgewater has several bounty boards where new bounties are posted daily by pursuers who pay out the hunters returning their targets dead or alive. With so many pirates, assassins, and criminals operating in and around Bilgewater, bounty hunting is an incredibly lucrative profession. Yep. I'm imagining like factions. There's like people who are like, we want to hunt all the people with bounties, and there's the bounty hunters who are like, wait, hold up, we came here to be free. And then in the middle, there's this line, and it's just all the wanted boards.
There's a couple of cool things in the like the Legends of Runeterra says. They kind of go into that too, and so like. It turns out when bounty hunter because like there's a really interesting commentary on adventuring in Bilgewater because like half the bounty hunters are like level 1 bounty hunters hunting like level 12 criminals, and they're like, we got this is everyone does it, this is fine, and then like they just die in droves constantly, and everyone's like, well, that's what you get for trying to do that, like you know.
I'm looking, and when you said that, I went to Misfortune's stats, and I was looking at it, and I'm like,
yeah,
I know how I would make Misfortune in Pathfinder.
Sure.
There would be a lot of D6.
Yeah, for sure.
This doesn't seem like enough, but we're going to get to that.
Yeah. I think I just kind of like put a cap on this. There's a reason that the Bilgewater short they released for Legends of Runeterra was called Double Cross.
Yeah,
that's all Bilgewater is.
It's very good. If you get the chance to, like, Riot may have lots of problems, but their cinematic department is fantastic. Their lore department is getting there, and their music department is one of the best in the industry. Full stop.
Oh yeah. Their cinematics are incredible.
Highly recommend watching at least for the story. They're very well done.
Let's go to Monster Hunters.
Yeah.
Bilgewater is famous for its monster hunting trade and when its economy built around its burgeoning industry. The seas that surround the Serpent Isles are teeming with sea monsters of every size and description. These monsters make travel around the city quite dangerous, but crews of monster hunters have turned this peril into profit. These individuals, sometimes referred to as serpent hunters, embark on missions to hunt these monsters, slay them, and bring their corpses back to Bilgewater to sell to the highest bidder. Entire regions of Bilgewater host facilities built to process these corpses into food, treasures, and other sellable resources. A comfortable living can be made by hunting these monsters or by working among the docks that process them.
Yep. And that's the slaughter docks, which are actually, I think, in the later section under like the sections of the city.
Sweet. I like that. I like that the visual of just like an entire section.
This is the slaughter docks.
Oh, that's what you have on your thing. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
See, I like that. If the swarms of sea monsters don't deter voyages to Bilgewater, then the brutal terrain certainly does. The seas around the Serpent Isles are dotted with rock formations and coral reefs that can destroy a ship before the crew realizes what they've hit. Many ships carrying valuable cargo have sunk to the ocean floor surrounding Bilgewater Bay, and retrieving these lost goods has become a profession. Treasure hunters and salvagers strike rich daily as they mine the ship graveyards just off the coast. Traversing the ocean is incredibly dangerous, so skilled salvage divers can sell their services for extraordinary fees. Those with the stomach for the profession can make their fortunes retrieving lost treasures from merchants, for pirates, or by leading their private expeditions.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah, like there's a burgeoning thing built around people with way too many prospects and not enough practical sense.
Yeah,
which is great.
Piracy has been historically tied to the legacy of Bilgewater, and it remains an active portion of the city's economy today. Because Bilgewater operates outside the law, it's one of the only places pirate crews can safely sell stolen goods for profit. Many of the businesses in the city cater specifically to these crews, who return after laborious stints at sea with pockets full of coin, seeking revelry. Pirate crews can return to the bay without real fear of persecution, since natural hazards surrounding the Serpent Isles, the rocks and coral reefs. The best navigators jealously guard knowledge of safe routes to the Isles, which force larger Navy vessels to abandon hopes of landing on its shores. The only real threats to pirates in Bilgewater come from the stronger crews and the occasional bounty hunter. I feel like that was the elevator pitch for Sea of Thieves.
Pretty much, yeah. Like it's basically that.
So, like remember what I said earlier? Bilgewater was the place where they dumped all their sea myths, lore, and world building, and these 4 kind of paragraphs prove that. It's like, here's everything you want in the port city.
Yeah, it's basically, do you want to run a game of like Pirates of the Caribbean? Essentially, and then here, and like I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and these 4 paragraphs like set the tone for that real well. Like you read these 4 paragraphs, and this is everything you need to know about Bilgewater. There you go.
Except for one thing.
Okay, go for it. I know you've been waiting to say this.
Right. So the one thing that and I'm just going to touch on this in economy. The one thing that they don't touch on is what kind of money do they use? And if you're a League of Legends player, Gangplank's ultimate Cannon Barrage can be upgraded through the use of something they call Silver Serpents. And Silver Serpents is one of the currencies on Bilgewater. I think there's 3. There's like Silver Serpents, Silver Krakens, and Golden Krakens, I think. There's at least 3. They don't mention this in the economy thing, which would be fine. Like, this is a D&D port. I don't expect it to have necessarily... I don't think it needs that level of depth. Mm-hmm. With the only thing that I have that I would complain about is that later on, further down in this section, they mention Silver Serpents with no like any context as to what that is or why that matters, especially in the context of someone who would rather take favors than trade in Silver Serpents. You're like, okay, that's a money, I assume, but you haven't mentioned it, and I've already read past the economy sections.
I think this is a big balancing act between making sure that this is accessible to people who are playing D&D. So it's like, everybody uses the gold piece. Which
right, and like you could have just avoided that by just taking Silver Serpents out and putting in a coin, and that wouldn't have been a problem for sure. It just meant that I was reading it and I went, "Wait a minute, is this the first time? Hold on, Control F, silver. Yeah, that's it. Okay,
just the one time. Oh, great.
Just the one time, which just felt very odd because they've been doing coin and money, and like that was, I think, a really great generic move over for this port specifically, because you don't need to know what silver serpents are really. Like you really don't.
This was a moment where they were like, insert game flavor.
Yeah, it feels like that for sure.
Okay, so that's good to know, because right now this is pretty. Honestly, this is very D&D agnostic.
Yeah, for sure.
At this point, which is nice.
Yeah, it's a fun like, hey, you can dig through all the really cool shorts and cinematics and stuff, but that's like not how everyone processes information. Or you can read this lore dump.
Yeah, like this lore dump has all the things that I would like for the most part get from a quick Google. And like sometimes I just want it all in one place. I don't want to have to go read the League of Legends like research site, which is very pretty but loads very slowly for people with slow internet. You could go to the League of Legends wiki, but then you have to go diving into different articles, and like I don't want to do that sometimes.
Yeah. And it's formatted in a way like most of those are formatted in a very like matter of fact way, and this is formatted in a more flavorful way, which is nice. Like I'm enjoying the writing so far.
Yeah, same here. The Buru region is the Buru religion is the main religion of the Buru people native to the Serpent Isles. This religion centers around the worship of Nagakabouros. I said that right. Yep. A god often
Nagakabouros, I think, is what
Nagakabouros.
I think that's the way they pronounce it in the like game, or that's the way specifically Alawi pronounces it.
That's it then, Nagakabouros. Yeah, and Alawi is the Buru character, right?
Yeah, she's
and actually she gets mentioned in this paragraph.
Yep, there you go. Perfect. There you
go. Okay, wait. A god often depicted as a colossal kraken. Followers of the Buru religion believe that every spirit was born in to serve the universe, and the best way to fulfill personal destiny is to pursue one's inherent desires. Nagakabouros is the deity that presides over life, the oceans, storms, and motion. I like that with motion. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
While her true form is unknown, the image of the Kraken often represents her in religious iconography. The god is called the Mother Serpent. Wait. So, while her true form is known as the Kraken, but is...
So, this is specifically a thing that League of Legends does. Kraken serpents are the thing in League of Legends. It's not just a Kraken. There's, like, specifically a... I think it's called a Kraken Worm, and what it is, it's basically a long Leviathan that is a completely different thing that has, like, its face and the tentacles that come off it make it look like a Kraken from the front up.
Kraken
Worm, yeah, I think is what it's called. I don't remember off the top of my head. If I could find that.
Dude, that's not it, because I just got a lot of YouTube videos for worms.
Yeah, that's different. It's like they call it something. It's Kraken Worm, one word. That's what it is. Yeah, the Kraken Worm is a type of creature. It's basically a large, giant thing that has tentacles for like on its face and looks like kind of a kraken from like face down, but has like the body of a serpent.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a Norse dragon almost, or like a Jormungandr-esque kind of thing. And for Nagakabouros specifically, they call her the Mother Serpent. Her other epitaph is the Bearded Lady because of the way the tentacles come off the Kraken Worm, which is
cool.
That's kind of neat.
Okay, so that makes sense why it's called the Mother Serpent.
Yeah,
but if you weren't into League, or you were new into League, you'd be like, why?
Yep.
Okay. And the massive sea monsters that fill the nearby oceans are known as the Children of Nagakabouros. Nagakabouros is a god that prefers action over words and has little patience for weakness or failure. One of the Buru's religious rites is called the Test of Nagakabouros, in which an individual submits to a vicious psychic assault from the god's spectral tentacles. Partakers who fail perish, but those who survive have demonstrated they possess the favor of the Mother of Serpents. Buru in Bilgewater. Several temples to Nagakabouros have been built in Bilgewater, though priests strictly limit which residents are allowed inside them. Even with these restrictions, the Buru religion is growing in popularity amongst all the people in the city. This popularity has a great deal to do with the spiritual leader of the Buru, a priestess named how do you say that?
Ilawi.
Iawi, I think. I don't know if you pronounce it else. I thought it was Iawi, but I could be wrong.
It could be. Honestly, most of the people who say it
Ilawi
are like white, so I don't.
Who knows? who bears the honored title of Truth Bearer. Illaoi has been a staunch ally in protecting Bilgewater against the harmful effects of the harrowing, as is well regarded by the citizenry. When Gangplank ruled Bilgewater, Illaoi and the Buru were close allies. With Gangplank's fall from grace, it remains unclear what role the Buru would play in the politics of leadership.
They didn't.
Yeah. The tithe. The tithe is a superstition as opposed to a full system of belief. But most sailors religiously observe it in Bilgewater. It is said that when a ship sets out to sail, a captain must make an offering to the sea, or some say to Nagakabouros, or risk the sea claiming the ship. Sailors usually keep a coin on their person just in case a tithe needs paying. Cautionary tales warn of a salvage diver named Nautilus, who was dragged under the ocean and transformed into a monster when his captain refused to pay the tithe.
Yep.
That's not a character, is it?
Yeah, he's a champion. There are two champions who basically had that problem. Nautilus and Pike, I believe.
Nautilus is you're sort of like a salvage diver who becomes like an undead terror of the ocean, Davy Jones, like resurrected ghost style.
Yeah, he's basically a spirit bound to a massive suit of armor and like salvage diver armor and clonks around with a giant anchor, and he's like huge.
Yep,
that's awesome.
And then Pike was a Yawl hunter who did like this thing where you would dive into a thing's mouth and it hit it from the inside and then like carve things out from it and then come back out.
Right.
And both Nautilus supposedly and Pike became who they were because their captains, their respective captains, refused to pay the tithe and then were claimed by the oceans.
Oh, so they're both undead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Undead.
Nautilus is like actually undead, and Pike is funky.
Pike is Pike.
Pike is Pike. Okay.
Pike is Pike.
So then all of Pike's abilities make a lot more sense to me now that I understand this.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a spirit of vengeance, essentially.
Do we want to read? Do we want to read through the Rat Town, or do we want to get into any of the other?
I don't know.
That image on the slaughter decks, though. That's a great piece of art.
It's
at the end of the tithe. I have to point out that the art that they put here is one of the cards that openly flirts with misfortune in League of Legends and Legends of Runeterra, proving that both of them are gay. Continue.
No, wait, what?
Yeah, so basically,
misfortune. Hired mercenary. She flirts with misfortune in the card if you play both cards at the same time.
So Legends of Runeterra does this really cool thing that Hearthstone sort of started. Like where Hearthstone has, the character interactions and will talk and like say things. Legends of Runeterra, if you play certain cards together, they have interactions between each other. For example, the Plunder Poro, which is like the Poros, if you don't know anything about them, are these like adorable fluffy things, which you can't really see because I have a green screen, but like they're fluffy and adorable.
Your green screen is making it look terrifying.
It's actually well, this one's terrifying. So it's basically it's a Poro in a pirate hat with an eye patch and a gun. I don't know how a Poro knows how to use a gun, but here we are. And the Poro it's called Plunder Poro, and Gangplank, when you play it, will say something effective. He's cute, and then like we'll continue doing like whatever it was you were doing at the time.
I love the Poro cards in Legends of Runeterra. They're so cute.
Pretty much almost every female card in Legends of Runeterra will flirt with Misfortune, and Misfortune will flirt back.
Yep,
that's awesome. The Bilgewater set because they're hella gay and it's great.
Yep.
I don't know if we need to read the entire City District things. I will say that what I really like, what they did that was really cool, was stylistically, if you keep going down, they have these little side brackets, and I think if you if you scroll down to something fishy right there, down at the bottom,
fishy,
down
all the way down,
right? No, it's down at the bottom right.
Yeah,
of the screen.
I see it mid level.
Yeah. So what they do is they weave these like encounters and potential prompts into the lore document as you're scrolling through with like with what's in it. So you can have like, here's your setup for like a 2-hour adventure if you just want to really quickly roll through it.
That's cool.
And they tell you what the levels are and the tiers are as a design point, which I think is super neat that they did that in that particular way.
Well, yeah, because if you're reading this, you're thinking, oh, this is neat. Oh, whoa, look at this image of this giant monstrous anglerfish at the slaughter docks. I wonder if I could turn this into an adventure. Oh, wait, there's a mid-level one. There's
an adventure right there. Great.
Right there.
Yeah.
It's a prompt. See, that's cool. I really like that.
Yeah, that's really neat. I just wanted to point that out as a stylistic layout because I thought it was super awesome.
I'm loving the art here.
Yeah.
I'm really liking it.
Riot's art department is fantastic.
Oh, so this is riot art. This is not wizards.
Yeah, all of this is like most of this is red art. So if you go down
Most
to
of
like
these I've seen before.
like if you go down to the Garnet, that's one of the cards from Legend of Runeterra. If you go down
Oh,
to the down there with the woman with the knives in the dark.
Oh yeah, I
ship,
recognize that.
that's Prowling
another card.
Cutthroat. I know that one. I use that in my decks. Then you have Powder Monkeys.
Prowling Cutthroat is another card that flirts with misfortune.
Yep. And then you have like the Bard. I don't remember what the Bard's name is.
It's one of the I know it, but I don't know the name.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's
a draw. You draw cards and you attack.
This is so.
Yeah.
I don't know if you folks tried this, but if you keep scrolling down to city encounters, each one has a ton of detail.
Yeah, it's super neat.
I really like that. They put a lot of work into this.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff here.
Also, I'm enjoying like a lot of the flavor in some of the tables.
For sure.
Especially like the Beyond Bilgewater tables are just very fun in how it scales up.
Let me see that one.
It's at the very end. They have a section on how like essentially getting
Beyond
Bilgewater
Bilgewater.
Yeah. Monsters everywhere because of the serpent, because of the Shadow Isles.
So is that one of those Kraken worms?
That's a crack. That is, I think, a smaller Kraken worm.
That's fucking
It's
sick.
referred to in Legends of Runeterra as the Beast Below, I think this one.
Yeah, and it has a shanty, which I love.
I hope they statted this. Did they make
Nope.
stats?
They've
What?
given dragon sharks as sort of the equivalent, it seems like.
But
If you look at
in terms of scale, it's
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
okay.
All right. I mean, if we actually, since we did that. If we go back to the table of contents, the next thing we can jump to is the adventure, which is Herald of the Harrowing, which I think is maybe not the most useful thing to review. I think we can go straight to chapter 4, which is Beasts of Bilgewater, and that's that's just the monster list.
Should we look at the races and subclasses?
I think we should do that after the monsters.
Okay, cool.
I don't think the monsters will take us more than like 20 minutes, but I think races and classes will.
Okay,
Races and classes might take us a while.
I was browsing through the random encounters, and there's a bunch of fun ones, but there's this one table that's a 1d4 roll for interacting with Penny Dreadful, who is a beggar who calls for a coin. And
where's that one?
It's in the random encounters in Bilgewater in chapter 1. There's a bunch of tables. But the 4 options are: 1, you have a secret twin. The twin is currently trying to find and kill you. 2, a remarkable treasure will fall from the sky very soon. It might be a sword foe, so if you aren't careful, it will kill you. 3, your next birthday is going to be incredible. The amount of fun will kill you. The next tavern you visit will unknowingly be serving tainted food. If you eat it, it will kill you.
Yeah. Which tells you kind of all the way that Bilgewater does. This is like, here's some great stuff. Also, you're gonna die. Which I
like
think
this
is
rotten
really
core.
good flavor. Yeah.
I love how there's just a support beam that could just break.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a bunch of like really nice world building in these areas, like in these tables that I'm enjoying.
Yeah, that's cool.
If you look, my favorite if you go down is the pool shark, and if you scroll down to like that one, you'll actually see that the reason why he's a pool shark is because one of the balls is actually just a creature.
Yep. It looks like a tiny little
turtle,
pangolin,
armadillo
pangolin
thing.
Yeah.
It's super cute, and I love it. I love that the way that lore works. It's super cool, for sure.
Oh yeah, these gold pieces here. See, this is what happens when Wizards isn't held back by the Forgotten Realms.
Yep.
Okay, let's go back to these. We're all just like, yep.
That's a loaded sentence. All right.
Yep. Well, I mean, this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah, it
like
is.
I want to play this.
Let's do it.
Abyssal Eye. Yeah, I'm down.
The Abyssal Eye is creepy.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really
cool.
neat. Understands deep speech but can't speak. Pretty standard.
Yeah. And like this is where we get into this is where we're gonna hit like a lot of the D&D conventions that are gonna start happening again.
Evil Eye, it can frighten you. There's an ability called Go Fish.
Yeah, it'll just yoink you into the water.
Yeah.
Which is super neat.
Bark Beast. Oh, that's cool.
Where are we looking at right now?
We're down
chapter 4.
Chapter 4, which is Beasts. Okay. Yeah, the Bark Beasts are super neat. I don't know why they're in the Bilgewater supplement and not in the Shadow Isle supplement, but like I'm not going to complain too much about that.
Yeah, they seem kind of off theme. They look super dope though.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Oh, that art is wonderful. Dragon Shark. Okay.
Don't have art on the Dragon Shark, which makes me sad.
That's real sad.
Yep. So I would like to point out real quickly that a Dragon Shark is an apex predator. It's listed as an apex predator and is a CR5 creature.
That makes no sense.
Um,
Single bite from the dragon shark can sink most vessels in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, that's a CR5 character for
totally
sure.
CR5.
Also, it's huge.
CR5. Maybe because they're... That's not... okay.
I don't know. That I have some issues with that choice, but like, okay, I get it. Like, and this is the thing, right? I think where you start to see where D&D starts to break down for this is that, like, I think D&D, and you know, this is at least my opinion from seeing it played so often enough, is that it starts to fall apart past like level 10, level 11, as it starts to scale, and so you get to
Did you see with? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so you're getting to this point where like this supplement is designed for like low to mid level. I don't think it features a high tier adventure at all, and from what I remember, and so like you have to kind of cram this stuff into like a low tier, mid tier section.
Like the dragon shark feels like the type of enemy you would fight in a video game like Monster Hunter, where it's this big raid boss you and the party like strategize to take down, and that it's kind of tricky to do in D&D, where like the ultimate strategy is get their hit points to 0.
Yeah, there's never real strategy to monster hunting unless you want to make it purely narrative.
Yes. Right, and
or you want to reduce
unfortunate part.
I mean, there are games that kind of reduce combat to strategizing. I don't know if you've ever played like The Watch.
Yeah.
In The Watch, combat is basically 4 dice rolls, and those 4 dice rolls basically structure your discussion about combat.
Yep.
I'm looking at this, and it actually says the only real threat to the dragon sharks are the enormous krakens that haunt the ocean depths, and the two species violently oppose one another whenever possible. So I was like, okay, krakens. CR23.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do they fight? How do they fight?
GM Fiat.
How does that work?
I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm like I said, I have some issues with the
it's one of those situations where like they didn't stat the Krakens here because it makes sense that the Krakens are not a thing you fight both for like narrative reasons, and
but you shouldn't fight these either if like the only thing that can fight them is Kraken.
But like, in nature though, the only thing that can hurt them are Krakens. So what's in between?
Yeah, exactly.
What's in between these
things where like the Krakens are left unstatted because in the like cultural lore of the Uhuru, it makes sense not to hunt the Krakens, right? Like you don't want to encourage that.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But you also want to give the players a big boss, which is why they put Dragon Shark so low, right? Like that's what ends up happening. But when you think about that connection, it's like, hold up.
Yeah.
But like it's one of those things where like the game design bumps up against the narrative a little by like needing to give, like as John was saying earlier, needing to give the players a big boss for this mid-level adventure.
But then you say the only thing ever known to have tamed a mighty dragon shark is the champion Fizz, right? But then it's a CR5 creature.
Yeah.
It falls apart when, like right now, it's falling apart because they're trying to put D&D stats and D&D game mechanics onto very very cool lore.
Also, like Fizz's dragon shark is tiny.
Yeah, Fizz is like got like a baby dragon shark. Like it's not a big.
Fizz's would be a CR5 dragon shark.
Yeah, Fizz is specific. Yeah, Longtooth is specifically like a CR5.
So instead of is it like to have tamed a mighty dragon shark?
Yeah, it's like he bonded with it.
It's like it's his animal companion. He's a level something ranger with a
there is,
like,
they even say
like,
in
as
fact,
a note, Fizz is like
friendship.
Small and Longtooth is like maybe a large at best. So you've already got a size difference between like Longtooth and like a dragon shark.
Yeah,
and Longtooth is Fizz's ultimate, right?
Yep.
Comes out
like the giant shark. Yeah,
giant dragon shark that bites you in the game.
Yep.
Sweet. Draconic Ancestry, okay. Let's go to Ironbacks, tanky turtle-like humanoids that tell their impressive destructive abilities to the impressive destructive abilities to the highest bidder. Aren't those just turtles?
Yeah.
This is just free turtle.
Well, I mean, it's a free turtle like NPC, which is technically not like a turtle because turtle's a race, but yeah. For sure.
I mean, you could make with this information. You could say, okay, so I have iron plating. I get +2 AC. You're amphibious, just like the Ganassis. Interesting.
Yep, it's a nice little stopgap. It's something that isn't like you know, a rogue, which like you're gonna find in the basic D&D rules for like a monster anyway, probably. So I'm not gonna give them too much for like, here's a turtle fighty thing. I'm like, okay, that's
fine. It's their version, because this isn't in the Forgotten Realms.
Right.
Pool shark. Okay, so that's
actually, that is a good question. Someone brought it. Yeah, Ramus is not an ironback. Ramus is something else.
Ramus is an armadillo. I would
Yeah.
tell you what the lore about Ramus is, but there is no lore. The only lore is that Ramus has so much lore that no one knows anything about Ramus.
Also, the only lore that
None
you
of
need
it's
to know
true.
about Ramus, when you look at the lore for Ramus, the only thing you need to know is, okay, and then you're done. Like, that's Ramus as a character. He's definitely like, he's still one of those meme characters that are like, where they're trying to put him into the lore now, but it's hard because he was designed like as a joke for the most part. Just okay. Pool shark is neat. Like, that's a cool rogue.
Common feature
like,
of Bilgewater's taverns and casinos. The pool shark delights in games of skill. They don't fear a good old-fashioned brawl. To them, combat is the most skillful game of all. Risky business. They make a living navigating the whims of chance. Oh, cool. So let's see their CR2.
I really enjoy that their weapons are their Q stick, and that they can have an
and then
improvised range.
whatever they can.
Anything else.
Yeah. It's like a Q stick and then the billiard balls they throw at you. Like, that's awesome.
Huh.
I am also a little disappointed that a pool shark isn't an actual shark, but they are like that's cool.
If they made a playable shark ancestry or race, I would 100% live out my street sharks.
Yeah, I was about to say just street sharks, but D&D. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I miss the street sharks.
Yeah, it's got multi attacks and like it's got sharking, which is a neat like gambler's luck and this bonus action like stop that ability, which is super cool. Like those are neat.
I just want to hear a DMZ like, okay, I'm going to use sharking now. I have one sharking left.
Yeah. The pool shark uses its sharking ability to shark. Like which is hysterical to me, but like honestly kind of fits, right? Like,
oh yeah, totally. The art's great. I like the art. But again, this is all Riot art.
Yeah, it's all
never Runeterra card. Pool shark.
Yeah, Powder Monkey. I know that one.
Powder Monkey is a great character.
It's a great concept. Like, I want a Powder Monkey familiar like so hard. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. And it's a challenge rating 1/2, so theoretically you could.
So it could work, yeah.
Yeah.
They are minions of misfortune.
I love the way to point out, by the way, that its action is called explosive excretion. And it
yeah.
just says it conjures gunpowder.
We know what this is. We know what you're talking about.
It's all right. It's an exploding poop monkey. I get it. Like,
just also, call it what it is.
We have a constant motion. They exist in continual motion and just can't stop moving.
Yep.
I'm just imagining your character with the Powder Monkey familiar. It's just constantly running around. We take a long rest. Just running in circles around you.
Yeah, like that's hysterical, honestly. Like I really love the Powder Monkey flavor is awesome.
And they give it teleporting just for like maximum mischief.
Also, more importantly, they can reload a weapon right after. Like they turn some of themselves into gunpowder and then yeet, which is hysterical. They're just like, this is a bomb. Foomp, this is an active bomb, and you're like, oh no.
Imagine like if you were some sort of druid gunslinger with powder monkeys and they're just constantly reloading your guns.
I mean, that's just a JoJo character. You're just making a JoJo character now, which
maybe I want to.
Hey, honestly, mood. Like, do it.
See, prior to this, the only other cool reloading sort of thing that's been in a fantasy TTRPG for me has been there's spectral hands in Pathfinder that reload your guns, and the art that they did for it was incredible.
Yeah. Like it's because there's not a lot of guns in D&D, to my eternal chagrin.
Yeah. We could play D20 Modern.
D5E Modern. Hello.
Oh, Wharf Rat. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a tiny shark rat.
Yeah, that's great art.
Which is awesome.
That is terrifying art
if you saw one of those in real life.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
That's a rat in New York City. You just like, I'm not dealing with that today. That's
Pizza Rat. That's Pizza Rat.
There are no winners in a fight with a rat. You don't take that fight. You walk away.
No.
You walk away.
Ooh, NPCs.
Yeah. Okay.
Commander Ledros.
Skip him. We'll get back to him in a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got
Misfortune. Okay.
Like, okay, so this is where like some weird things happen where you run up into like what the design of it was versus what the character was, right? So like Misfortune has a rapier.
Why?
Misfortune has Gunslinger, which gives her long range which gives her attacking at long range or being within 5 feet in melee range doesn't give her disadvantage. So why do you even have a sword? If you like, why would you even have a sword?
Because she's a pirate. They would have given her a cutlass instead.
That's fair, but she doesn't have one. So
yeah. She doesn't in the game.
She doesn't at all. So why would you do that?
It should be she makes 2 attacks with her pistols.
Right, that's it. Or like maybe
she blank ability, like
or like give her like key the powder monkeys into her. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, she makes a reaction and like a powder monkey does a reload. And now the thing is also the guns don't exist in this supplement either, so there isn't actually anything to reload. If you think about it,
it's not the internal logic of this within the context of D&D as a game,
right? But also with the internal logic of this within it doesn't have any either, because like there is nothing that reloads with black powder in the supplement at all, because guns aren't an item, which is a thing we'll get to later. But other than that, like strut is cool. Bullet time's awesome. Well, the bullet time makes 2 attacks with her pistol.
No, but she already could have 2 attacks if she doesn't move.
Yeah, she already has multi-attack. So it's like
I'm not sure why that's. I mean,
it's 4 attacks a turn with multi-attack.
Well, it's a legendary action, right? So all you do is you multi-attack, and then you can use it at the end of time to attack.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
See, I'm curious as to why she has Make It Rain as a 3 legendary action ability when they don't even have her ultimate.
Oh, well, so the thing is, Make It Rain is her ultimate.
Oh, is that her ultimate? What's the one where they drop?
That's Make It Rain.
That's Make It Rain. The names are wrong.
Oh,
Make
Bullet
It Rain
Time
should
is
be
her
the
ultimate.
other way, and Bullet Time should be her ult.
Yeah. So Make It Rain, I'm reading it now, is statted like her ultimate. Which is terrifying, because that's a terrifying move.
Except it's not.
A cone, but it's not. It's only 15 feet. That's 3 squares.
It's a 15-foot cone in a 3 actions with a 3d10, which is her entire legendary action suite as a level 12 character.
And she would do better with Bullet Time if she gets 4 attacks per turn.
She'll get 4 attacks per round.
Yeah.
So what she can do, right, is she's always going to be better off strategically Bullet Time strut.
Yeah.
Because you will never be in range of anybody if you do it that way.
Yeah.
So like Make It Rain is a really neat ability on paper. Also, the thing I don't really like here is that there's no scaling for this. Like, there's no scaling for this on your party, which, like, okay, I get it, is not a thing that a lot of the books have, which I think it should. But if this is your legendary action and it's supposed to be her ultimate, put it on a recharge.
Put it on a recharge, or give it, like, one of the things that about her ultimate in the game that's terrifying is that it's got a sizable range.
Yeah, like make it
that's
big.
That is way more than 15 feet.
Yeah, I think the interesting like version of that would be one that does maybe 3d10 on the first turn, but it's continual, and if you just stand there, you're
as like a concentration, and it's like freaking huge, and it's just a barrage of guns.
There's a 3rd level spell that it could be like if it was an area. You remember the spell Blade Barrier?
Yeah,
it'd be like Blade Barrier, and then you would just sit there, and then you would constantly take damage unless you moved. And you could you could make a dexterity saving throw to get out of the area.
Yep.
But 15-foot cone is not that great, to be honest.
Yeah, like I do not. Okay, I will
also,
say this.
3d10 damage is not that much damage considering who she would be fighting.
Yeah, considering like her base weapon. Actually, her base weapon damage isn't that much either.
Yeah, her base. She's a CR12, right? Like she's not that scary, which is okay. So the big issue I have with this is like, okay, Misfortune is actually just like a person. I get that. Yeah. That's fine. Like I think CR12 is a decent. It makes sense. It's not like. She's not nearly, of course, going to evaporate an entire team like she does in League.
Well, also
but, like,
every champion has to be balanced in game.
Right, exactly. Because so like Misfortune, the character, I think actually maps pretty well to this. I don't know why Bullet Time and Make It Rain were 2 different abilities. I don't get it. I think switching those names would have made perfect sense and everyone would got it. And I think the 50-foot cone could have been bigger. I also don't understand like why there's this weird thing around giving like fighters AoE damage when like everybody has it.
Yep.
Like everyone else has it, which is weird to me. Especially if they have to take their action to do it, which means they're not probably smashing it.
Especially if you get rid of her rapier and then she's putting herself in the vulnerable position by like.
But she doesn't even have to use the rapier though, because
no, it's actually
she has
just
gunslinger.
Worse. Yeah, it's actually just like I don't know. It's redundant.
Significantly less damage. But
yeah,
what's it make it Rhaenys sound like? I mean, for anybody who plays the game, it would look terrifying and be terrifying in like D&D, but here is really underwhelming. Like DC 17, not that high.
Yep.
Not that difficult. 3d10 damage, not that much, and half as much on a successful save from 3 legendary actions, and it's only got a 15-foot range.
Yeah, like I would double the range. Like,
yeah,
for sure.
Also, it bothers me that they gave her. I feel like this is as nitpicky as I'm gonna get.
Okay.
But they gave her studded leather armor.
Yeah, like how is
it doesn't make sense because she's got a high dex.
Yeah, but her dex is a 5. Like she doesn't have
studded leather is
13. It's 13 plus, right?
Is it 13 plus? I think it was 13.
I think so. So
I'm
like
just gonna pull it up just in case. It's 12 plus dex. So she should have a 17.
So she should have a 17.
But then where's the other 2 coming?
Where's the 2 coming from?
I feel like you could have given her like captain's armor or something unique for misfortune because she's misfortune.
Or give her some sort of ability that gives her like sea legs. Like she has an awareness of space and balance.
Or like strut. If you wanted to make strut.
Or strut, yeah.
You could add like an dex bonus to AC or if it strut, like add half.
But where does the 2 come from?
Also, so here's what I would have done if I were designing. I don't know where the 2 comes from. I have actually.
I say this as somebody who was like worked on writing assignments and have been like, all these numbers have to add up. I have to make them add up, and now I see it doesn't add up. I'm like,
where is it?
Where is it?
So here's the thing. Here's what I would have done if I were designing misfortune. I would have moved strut to a passive. I would have allowed her. I would just allow her to move her speed without provoking opportunity attacks because misfortune is not a particularly mobile character when she's in a fight. Like she's mobile getting to places, but not mobile when she gets there. I would have put double up in her legendary actions.
Yep,
double up for 2 attacks with her pistol. It's thematic. It sticks with it.
But not even 2 attacks. Like
no, just give her way more.
Or give her like a line attack or something. Like if you want to transition D&D, line attack.
Or like, well, assuming like if we wanted to keep this version of it as close to this as possible, right? Like if I wasn't just redesigning her from scratch, I would have take out the rapier. There's no reason to use it. She's never going to use it. She has 2 guns, and she never. And because of the way D&D works, she'll never have to have more than 1 gun to do it. She can take 3 legendary actions. I would put strut in her passives. I would put double up if you wanted to keep the makes to attack with her pistol because there is a convention of like a legendary action allowing you to make your attacks on a turn. I would have made double up that. I would have made it cost 1. I would have made make it rain cost 2. It does damage and it turns it into like difficult terrain.
Yep.
And then you would make bolt time is a 3. You put it on a recharge 1 to 6, and then it just does a bajillion, like not even a bajillion, but like a bunch of damage
more
in a
than
huge
3d10
range. Yeah, like 4d10 at a huge range.
It'd be really cool if it did scaling damage in d10s based on how near or far away you were. Does that seem like it would be bad?
No, I don't think it's bad. I just don't think
because I don't know if that's how it works in League.
No, it's
you
just
take
flat damage in the cone.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's more like I think the bigger thing would be adding some sort of like continual hazard of like, okay, I can stand here and try to like burst her down, or I gotta spend some actions moving out of the space because this is gonna keep hurting me every turn.
Yeah. Right.
And I noticed in the chat someone said even something that chains like double up actually does, and Andreas pointed out 2 crunch for 5e. No, because they added it in the classes. I like not to be a douche nugget about it, but they actually added it in, so it's something that you could have put on misfortune easily.
We're gonna get to it then.
We'll get to it. But I think like that's what I would have done, right? Is like if you want make her actual buttons that matter, her legendary actions, or honestly, even if you want to do it, misfortune makes 1 attack with her pistol. Call it love tap. You've got the verbiage in her kit. It's right there. And I think that's the thing that really sort of. This is where I think it starts to fall apart. Like as it gets closer and closer to trying to replicate League of Legends in D&D, this is where it starts to fall apart for me.
Yeah. Speaking of, Gangplank.
Speaking of Gangplank.
So, well, somebody mentioned in the chat that like I think the rapier is to be like a pirate in theme, but I don't think it's supposed to be like pirates. It's supposed to be like League of Legends.
Well, and it's not even that. Right? Like, Gangplank is the pirate. Like Gangplank is.
Oh no,
pirate.
I'm talking about Misfortune. I'm talking about Misfortune.
Right, but like that's the thing.
Yeah.
Gangplank is the pirate with the cutlass and the pistol. That's his entire shtick. There's no reason to have the pirate archetype on Misfortune. She's not like a generic NPC that you throw in. Like every other pirate could have a pirate and a cutlass. That's fine. Misfortune specifically as a character uses twin guns. Side note, for lore reasons, they're like her mom's pistols and they're super important to her, and that's why she uses them.
And Gangplank killed her mom.
And Gangplank killed her mom, which is why she's basically trying to kill Gangplank, with her own gun, with her mom's guns.
They don't mention that.
Yeah.
I just realized.
They don't mention that.
Other quick note, like I feel like Misfortune needs a few more like I get most NPC stat blocks don't usually have that in D&D.
No.
But like definitely like Misfortune feels like a character who would have one or two social things beyond just like stats, because that's a huge part of her leadership.
Totally.
Happening.
I mean, but D&D is it's a fighty game, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, right? I think.
Well, even standard pirates in D&D have, if your pirate captains have the ability to get their crew members to reroll failed rolls. That's like a standard ability for pirates in D&D, and she doesn't even have that.
Yeah, I think that, and that's where like Misfortune is clearly set up as a boss you're going to fight. In D&D, and I like
it feels like the natural arc of a campaign is side with Misfortune or side with Gangplank.
And you're going to fight one of the two, and it's a little funky because you're not going to fight her by herself. And if you do, she's fucked up real hard.
Yeah.
And same with Gangplank, right? Like even with Gangplank and Misfortune together, even when Gangplank
How is
Misfortune,
that plate armor? Sorry, they say he has plate armor.
He does. Well, because he's wearing literally, it's called Dead Man's Plate, which is the item.
Okay. Oh, like the item in League.
Because it's his arm. Yeah.
Oh, that's where the name comes from.
Yeah. A lot of the items anyone can buy come from specific pieces of lore.
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Wait a minute. Why does he have a rifle?
Yes.
Yeah.
Back up. Why does he have a rifle?
So let's start by reading the Gangplank intro.
Yeah. So Gangplank is a commanding, battle-worn pirate captain.
I didn't even notice that the first time going.
Gangplank is the previous Reaver King of Bilgewater, who seeks to reclaim his title after surviving an assassination attempt on his life. Gangplank dominated Bilgewater with fearsome strength and an iron will, two qualities which serve him well as he rebuilds support to once again rule the city.
Yep. That's pretty cool. Like that seems fair.
Yeah.
Also,
he doesn't
side
have a
note,
rifle in game though.
He doesn't have a rifle in game. Also, why does he have a rifle anyways?
Does he have a flaming sword in game? I've never played.
Okay, so the thing is, his passive basically when you set off a chain barrel or in between, there's a cooldown on it. His sword ignites and then does bonus true damage when you hit somebody with it. It also does bonus true damage if you detonate it on a barrel, which is like Gangplank's entire thing is applying his on-hit effects to barrels, which is why I take umbrage with the way this was designed. Not because of the specific thing, but because there's a specific mechanic that I get that is that replicated easily that they didn't do.
Remove scurvy.
Yeah, so that one's based on one of his abilities, and it's actually pretty alright.
Is that what it's called in game?
Scurvy.
It's just called scurvy?
Or oranges, I think it's called.
No, I think it's actually just called remove scurvy, I think.
Okay.
I think it's still called that.
Orange, heals up and clears off crowd control on him.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's hysterical because it works on literally everything that is considered crowd control in the game. So Mordecai's ult was transports you to a shadowy death realm where you do him one-on-one.
You eat an orange and you're like, please.
Gangplank shovels an entire citrus into his mouth and is like, and I'm out of the shadow realm.
It's so sour.
Yeah. It's remove scurvy.
It's hysterical, right?
It cleanses everything. It's beautiful.
It's great. So here's where things get funky. And I think what it is that if you look at the design they did for the classes, which we'll get to in a minute, the two archetypes are pistolier and rifle. And Gangplank fits the rifle archetype better than he fits the pistolier archetype in terms of the big gun kind of thing. Misfortune does a lot of attacks, and Gangplank is one shot every now and then that detonates an entire field that wipes the entire enemy team. Mm-hmm. I don't really know why you had to change rifle. You could have just made it a pistol and had it shoot the same thing.
Well,
so
Gangplank makes two flame blade attacks. One of these attacks can be replaced by a rifle attack, except the rifle is a two-handed weapon.
Right. So you could just, so if we want to get into hand wielding rifles, I'm down for
I
that.
mean, there are.
It's got to be consistent.
But they have to say that in game, and right now
right.
they're not.
And so one of them you could just replace by a pistol attack, also because there's no reason. Also, actually, I lied. Okay, this is all right. This is John's thoughts on class design. The pistolier in this game, which we're going to get to in a minute. The actual, I believe, if I'm correct, the actual functional part of it that lets you use a blade and a gun is pistolier locked only, which means you're automatically going to have a pistol. So why he has a rifle doesn't make any sense at all, actually, now that I think about it.
It's like the samurai in 3rd edition. You automatically get a katana.
I don't know. Yeah, but like I just realized you actually don't. Like that's actually for the pistolier. So why does he have a rifle? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense, but that's fine.
Again, I think it's one of those situations where they wanted to showcase different mechanics, like giving Misfortune a rapier, because hey, look, we have all these different elements to this thing that come at the cost of the league fidelity.
Maybe it's a sword rifle, sword pistol. Gunblade.
If you had like maybe it's a hex tech gunblade, you might say. It's not.
I gotta add, like the photo they show us of Gangplank with like
he's got a pistol
barrels behind him.
He's got a pistol,
no sword, and a pistol.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to his legendary actions, then we'll move into classes.
Yep. Parlay makes an attack with his rifle. That's literally like
what is that? But
that's actually a worse legendary action.
But he can already do that. That's a standard action that he has.
Well, no. So legendary actions. Remember, legendary actions.
Can
at the end of other creatures' turn. You can interrupt turns.
Right.
Order, which is why that's important. Yeah. Which means because it gives them more action. Because
it's still kind of boring though.
It is, but every legendary creature does have like one legendary action that makes attacks. Which like I get it. It's fine. Sure. I don't know why you make an attack with your rifle specifically and not the flaming sword you have, but okay.
I think
whatever.
You make an attack. Honestly,
yeah, like can make an attack with either his sword or his rifle.
This is one of those situations where I think like this is actually fidelity to the game in a weird
way. Yep.
Well, then he couldn't.
But it would be nice like they added something to parlay, or like if Gangplank didn't have to like if the sword was always better and like Gangplank could use the pistol like in between rounds for something special or whatever, that would be neat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Gangplank attempts to shove a creature within 5 feet of him. The shoved creature takes 1d8 piercing damage, in addition to either being knocked prone or pushed.
So here's my problem. Dead Man's played as an action, super cool.
Why is it piercing
Where are the barrels?
Yeah.
Like you have them in the subclass for the Renegade. Where are they? This is the character that uses them.
Yes.
And also Cannon Barrage is like make it rain bullet time, not exciting, and I don't care.
Choose a point within 60 feet of an each creature within 20 foot. Spirit center on the point takes it's just shitty fireball.
It's shitty fireball with a knock. Well, to be fair, it has a knock prone, which is good for Gangplank specifically.
But it's still shitty fireball.
It's also it's shitty fireball for 3 legendary actions at a CR 12. Yeah.
Again, one of those things where you want a consistent control field, which is what Gangplank does. Like, all right, that area is now a 2d10 terrain of just like every turn you're in there, or you pass through it, you take 2d10.
But this is, you also have to make sure that the players aren't just fighting Gangplank or Misfortune, because a party will just destroy them both.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
For sure. And like this is why legendary creatures are hard to balance because of this, because they're designed to be one-on-one fights for the most part. And like so parlay, like I saw there was a cool thing like Ryzek pulled in the chat, which
that's true.
Gangplank would have been cool with parlay if it could be used to make an attack or set off a barrel. Yeah. Like that's a neat concept. I think that would have been great.
The thing I'll add is also I think it's hard to remember, for me at least, because I have not played D&D in a while. That D&D in fights are designed to be challenging, but the players are meant to win, and that losing is a bad result. It's a discouraged state, right? So you need to design the fights in a way where like we want Gangplank and Misfortune to be like these scary threats.
But they also don't feel scary at all, though.
Yeah, they don't feel scary, and I think that's a great point. Like I think it's worth noting that I want my players to win. I like wanting the players to win is a great thing, right? I think though that and the problem to me is it sounds like an excuse. It sounds like, oh well, D&D was designed so that players could win every fight. I'm like, I don't think that should be the case anymore. We're like, we've done this thing where we've moved towards narrative storytelling, through 5e and all that stuff. Like, problems though it has, like, it's been very apparent that narrative storytelling is what people are interested in terms of what D&D 5th edition is going. So give them fights they can lose. Like, if they're not prepared and they're not paying attention, they can lose a thing, and that's okay. But Gangplank isn't just going to kill you. Gangplank is going to, quote, make an example of you, and that's the important part, because that's the part that gives you the opportunity to get out.
Yeah, but they also, they also, put a lot of effort into saying this is a place of danger. This is a place where people die. This is a place where people
and their two main bosses aren't scary,
and they're not scary at all.
Yeah. Also,
how is this guy the king?
Right. The changes we're pushing aren't game breaking. Like, adding a control field, like, okay, Gangplank just locks off half the map, isn't going to end the fight. It's going to be like, you have to play around this cannon barrage now, which is fun. It makes the fight more exciting to be like, okay, there's this 20-foot circle that we can't step into unless we just want to die. And then the fighter is like, I have 500 health points. I'm going to run through it, and that's fun, But
and that's super narrative.
And then you get this cool thing with the rogue dodging cannonballs, because it's a dex saving throw, and that's what they do, and that's narratively awesome.
If it's a dex save every round, the rogue could be like, I can walk through this field.
Yeah, it's like in Legend of Korra, where it's like walking through all the spinning panels of wood, except they're cannonballs. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. And someone Rizal made a really good point that there's, I'm assuming the DM is going to know about setting up barrels for that fight, but a DM that is new to League, they won't know that's a possibility at all. And that's the thing that really bothers me, is that this is designed clearly as an entry point to both.
Yep.
And at no point are you really giving any guidance for how the fights should look or how the characters even operate. And then on the other hand, a League player comes through this, goes, where's Gangplank's barrels? Yep. That's the entire creme de la creme of his entire kit. Because they his entire, if you look at the way you build Gangplank, if you're a League player, you get a Trinity Force, and you build crit because your on hits and your critical effects stack with your barrels.
Also,
I do have, I think to their point, I don't think that they put the barrels in here because not everybody plays using visual aids, and that would make using the environment difficult.
That's fine. So why is it a 20-foot radius spear? It doesn't and that's the problem.
Yeah,
no, it doesn't matter because D&D is designed to be written as something where you're going to use a grid, even if that grid
it's a war game. It's a war game.
It's a war game, and it's a war game in micro, right? And you can pass off all of the you can get rid of all of that language, and that's fine. But even the flavor of Gangplank dropping a barrel and forcing you to move as he detonates it around a corner is still really cool if you're paying attention. And and then also for those of you who want to be like, but where would he carry barrels? Bags of holding exist. Bug off.
Also the thing again, barrels aren't an instant damage thing. I'm setting this trap up. You can either stand in it and die, or
if you want, you can do a thing where you can detonate it early. You can detonate it early or interfere with it on another round with your action to stop Gangplank from setting these things up. And I think honestly,
he literally just has a mechanic for deploying traps.
He has a trap action. He's a trap deployment lair action.
Yeah,
and that's what he's missing is the thing that sets up the fight for him.
A version of that
his ship could be his lair. That'd be cool.
It could be.
I mean, the funny part is the assassination attempt. His ship blew up. So canonically, the Dreadway is gone because Misfortune did the smart thing where she was like, I could fight Gangplank, or I could blow up his ship with him on it. Because that's the smart thing to do if you're going to try and just get rid of somebody.
Yep. There's also the thing where then that makes the Gangplank fight you're fighting this controller who has this ult that can lock off an area with this cannonball thing that you either have to tank or dodge through. He can set up barrels and traps around himself. And then there's this fun challenge how do we get close to him? No, he also has a fire sword, How do we play around?
Yeah.
And that's a fun fight.
So I'm pushing us ahead to races of Runeterra.
Real I'm going to do one quick thing on the
we the same thing.
Commander Ledros is not a CR5, okay? That's it real quick. That's my last comment. Commander Ledros is, for those of you who don't know him, the sole character to have taken on the entire harrowing corruption, remained sane, and still have some semblance of sentience to him that is not linked now to the drive of the Shadow Isles.
I mean, he just seems as powerful as one of the biggest apex predators of this. Yes,
I know, right? That's the thing. He's tied with a dragon shark. Why? No. This
also,
dude is also, why is he here?
That lore that you just mentioned, super cool.
Yeah. Also, where is everyone has like a 3-line thing for lore, and Ledros has nothing, and I'm like, that's
because Ledros is not he's not a pirate.
Right, Commander Ledros is a character that can feasibly show up in the game of League of Legends just from the lore he has. Okay, fine. Level 5, sure, why not?
Chapter 5.
All I got to say about that. Chapter.
I'm just looking at his actions, his sword. I'm like, what is special about his sword?
Gotcha.
There is nothing flavorful about that. Anyways, chapter 2. We're going to chapter 2, unless we want to go to magic items, but
there's only like 5 of them. I think it's quick.
These are all league items.
Yep, they're all league items.
Yeah, this adaptive helm, cool. Yeah. Banshee's Veil.
There's Dead Man's Plate. Yeah,
sure. Bilgewater Cutlass. Yep. Okay.
Powder keg. Here we go.
Oh, there it is.
These small wooden barrels are filled with highly volatile gunpowder when magically sealed, then magically sealed for easy transport. Setting fire to a keg requires one action and a lit torch, match, or similar magical effect. Once set on fire, a powder keg explodes at the end of the round. It is lit, dealing 1d10 fire damage to creatures and objects within 10 feet of it. A successful DC 12 saving throw halves the damage.
So technically, Gangplank could light it with his sword, but not his gun, because his gun does not have a fire effect.
Exactly.
Give Parlay the ability to set powder keg items up.
Also, why is it like it's a DC 12? So just like,
it's
put
like
it on Gangplank's sheet so they know he has them.
Yeah.
It's like Alchemist Fire. If you remember Alchemist Fire.
Dead Man's Plate is actually just literally just a Dead Man's Plate. You could have just said he has a Dead Man's Plate. You didn't need to add a new action. You could have just said he uses his Dead Man's Plate action.
Yeah, it could be an interesting version where it's like a legendary action, use one of your items, and he has Dead Man's Plate and powder keg there. It's like, okay, he can just randomly do the active of his item.
Other than if without say that he has Dead Man's Plate, if you're reading it, you're like, okay, well he has his Dead Man's Plate ability. Why is it piercing damage? If you're not into League, and if you're just getting into D&D, or if you just want to play pirates, you don't know where this piercing damage comes from.
I guess there's a neat little implication here of okay, the way to acquire a Dead Man's Plate is by killing Gangplank most likely. For the most part.
But that's not listed as treasure.
So interesting fact, and someone
because you can't take the guns.
V2 Blast just pointed out this is really nice. Commander Ledros has approximately three lines of text in the entry for his if you click on him, but it's not actually in the lore on the page. So I'm going to go with a good faith and say
okay, there we go.
When that's
a tendril of the black mist. Yeah, it is.
I'm just gonna go with that's just an editing mistake, but
still
okay, still.
Why is he CR5?
Still, why is he CR5? Anyways,
also he has a recharge ability under recharge 6.
Oh my! See.
Ledros unleashes a wave of shadowy mist that coalesces into a 15-foot radius circle centered on himself. Each creature within that radius must succeed a DC 14 Constitution saving throw, taking 22 or 4d10.
How does he do more damage than
misfortune? Yeah.
As a CR.
And he's a CR5. And he's look at his resistances: acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder.
Just bump that dude up to like a
Also, how does he have breastplate, shield 16? I forget breastplate. Is that
14? I want to say
14, and he's got 2 for the shield.
He's got 0.
Look at the way he looks, and then look at the way Misfortune looks, and tell me that Misfortune doesn't have a lower AC than him.
Yeah, well,
dexterity is what they'll say.
Yeah.
So as a person who likes rogues and high dex builds, I'm not gonna say anything here.
No, fair.
For me, it's just at least let the numbers add up.
Like that man is in undead plate armor. Like I don't. Yeah. Like it's not a breastplate.
Give him magic armor.
He's in magic armor. Like that's it, right? All right.
It's really just full plate.
Okay, classes.
Okay.
We got 30 minutes. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Races of Runeterra. There are beings of all shapes and sizes.
I do want to bounce back up real quick to the heroes and scoundrels section because they do a really cool thing, which is it's right above it. It's just the quick build section.
Just the section. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna gloss over this real fast. It's select human as your race, select barbarian, fighter, or rogue, which for the options that they have, view character sheet, click on the wall. This is how to build it in D&D.
What about ranger?
In D&D Beyond. That doesn't exist. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
And then this is specifically assuming you're taking all these things your first time and you're jumping into Bilgewater right now.
Yeah.
And you get Path of the Depths if you're a barbarian, you get Renegade if you're a fighter, or Wild Card if you're a rogue. And now there's a thing here that's really neat, which is they were building this as if this was the only thing you were working with, and this is the only product you saw, you could dive in and play it. The issue with that is that the reason you'll see later on, they designed these classes like a Russian nesting doll of subclasses, where there's like a subclass for the fighter, and then there's like 3 fighter like subclass, like a 2 or 3 fighter subclasses in that subclass, or like 3 options to make it more flavorful. I have an issue with that because it muddies the waters a lot in this. It's sort of in that there isn't enough depth to really pick something and get that flavor. If you're like a League of Legends player who wants to play, I want to play Misfortune. You don't get Misfortune. You get Misfortune with aspects of Caitlyn and Jinx and like I don't know, Lucian maybe in it. Like, and that's meh. Like I'm not a huge fan of it the way they've done it. I understand why they've done it. I think it was for what they're trying to go for. That's really the only way you could do it without building like 4 more subclasses for it. But I honestly think they should have just gone.
They should have done that. Also, I'm just really bugged that they put a lot of effort into talking about how their economy is fueled by monster hunting, and yet there is no ranger here.
Yeah, I feel like
I have some things about that.
I feel like there's a fun world where like you got Path of Depths, super cool. Then you do like 2 more barbarian archetypes, one for like a different type of like salvager who isn't like.
And yes, a ranger isn't the only one who can hunt.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
and then like stuff like that.
And I think the problem that you get into is that you could like a ranger by itself, like the hunter ranger by itself, just fits into Bilgewater. Like it slots in easily. I don't think you like, and I think it's okay. You don't need to make something new for that. I think just the hunter ranger by itself, Vancian magic aside, and the problems with the ranger subclass, like the class in general, it just slots right in, and it's easy enough to do that in a way that's okay. But this is where this is something they do in the Races of Runeterra section. If you wanna start there.
Well, let's. Oh, sorry, my brother is texting me asking.
Would you like me to run it while you're texting?
Yes, please.
Okay.
He's mostly just trying to get the hair clippers from me.
So, Races of Runeterra. There are beings of all shapes and sizes that live across Runeterra. While most of the common D&D races don't perfectly fit these varied peoples, you can use these races as a starting point. A Dragonborn might be a good template for a character that's half dragon, half human. Most of the magical beings of Runeterra vary widely in form, so you can use the game statistics of any of these races to create any sort of character you want, with any appearance, as long as your Dungeon Master says it's okay in their campaign. I have problems with games that tell me to do all the work for them. Just in general, I don't like that design philosophy. I think if you're going to say these are things, you should just do it.
Sorry, I missed that. What was that one?
So I have basically the long and short of it is they basically said, all these races aren't perfect fits, but you can take them and use them as a template as a start to make a character as long as your Dungeon Master says it's okay.
Okay.
I don't like games that tell me to do their work for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
I'm all about homebrew. I love doing that, but I want to be able to start from a place where I can see it rather than having to be like, this is an elf. Go make this elf into this. Like, okay.
I have mixed feelings because, like, I feel on the one hand, I feel like I if they'd been more explicit, like just reskin the flavor and keep the mechanics the same.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're going for, and I think that makes sense. But and I don't mind doing that. Like, I don't mind that being hey, this is all the things. My bigger issue is, since this is meant to be sort of like your DM might be someone who's never touched League. I mean, probably this is still marketed towards people who are
100%.
But you might get someone who's never touched League. You want to give them a little bit more structure for like races in the
absolutely
right? There's if you don't
a list of the League races with their equivalents in D&D would have solved this problem instantly.
Yeah, just little footnotes on how to adapt.
Right, because imagine going to a DM who doesn't know anything about League of Legends and is like, I want to play a Vestayan, and they go, what's a Vestayan? And you're like, oh, it's just like a half like part animal, part humanoid magic creature thing. And they're like, oh, like a shifter. And you're like, no, it's kind of like an elf furry.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what a Vestayan is for the most part, but like no one would know that.
Would have been the perfect opportunity for them to do.
Yeah.
To have gone with the whole approach of just like, you can play any race from League of Legends. Use the human template. Ignore racial ability scores. Throw those out.
Yeah, none of them.
But that's right. Like, this is an opportunity, and this is like, if I think Hake did like one of those racial ability replacement things on his blog, if I'm remembering the James correctly, because I know there are two of them.
No, that's Intricasso.
Okay, so Intercrossed in it. Sure.
That was a really cool article that he wrote.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, those exist. And this is clearly not like this is D&D Beyond. This isn't WotC because none of their names are on the credits, and it's a Google Play D&D Beyond, which if I'm going to speculate on what that means is they threw money at D&D Beyond and said, hey, we want to do this promotional product. You could have tampered with it. You could have made a Vestian.
Yeah, because none of this is canon in the Forgotten Realms because it's D&D Beyond.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm just gonna put a quick shout out to Gabe James Games on Twitter, who has also done a really
that modifier. Very good.
He's a Black creator, does some awesome work.
Do you want to link that in the chat?
Yeah,
let's
should absolutely do that because it's super useful. And that's the thing, right? It's partner content. It's not official, so why are we holding to the official rules so much? Answer: SRD. But you could just make more new races. The SRD doesn't care if you make new races. You could just do that. You could make the Vestian, and you could start to really cherry pick the abilities you want to have for a League of Legends campaign, or you could, because the races exist in D&D, in D&D, you can just use those and make up new ones because they have new ones.
Honestly, it wouldn't have been that hard.
Yeah, or like even literally just a list of so your section in the Bilgewater lore is longer than your section of class options. You could have mitigated that by saying, here are the races of Runeterra. And you have the beautiful little slide down drops that automatically expand when you enter that section. And you could have just arranged them. And you could have said what they were. He's like, these are this character. They do this. This is the closest thing that you can use to map them. Here's our suggestions on how to sort of change things around.
Easy. I think what I like least about this is, so I'm looking at that last paragraph where it's talking about Yordles.
Yeah. They do it with Yordles. That's the problem.
They say, other than humans, there is one other race that appears all across Runeterra, the strange and unpredictable spirit creatures called Yordles. And then they basically say they're covered in fur, blah, blah, blah. Just treat them as gnomes.
Like, you could have done that with, like, everybody.
I like that. I would have also loved to have some unique racial options in this and different ancestries. Because honestly, what they're doing is they're basically taking all of these really cool and unique things about League of Legends, which I'm now getting into through you folks, right? Because every time I play, I'm learning something new and I love it, right? Yeah. But now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, there's nothing really unique about it. It's just a gnome. But you're telling me it's a spirit creature?
Yep.
And it's going to be one of the gnomes, and none of those are interesting when you tell me that this is a spirit creature covered in fur.
Yeah, like the Yordle map's much closer to like a halfling elf than it does anything else like a gnome does. They're not like they're not necessarily smart, but they're charismatic and they're weird, and that's fine. Like, I don't know. Again, like, have you met Nar? He's pretty freaking dumb.
But then there's also like this is where like racial ability squares start to fall apart, because then you have like Heimerdinger, who is the like
hella intelligent.
But then they're gonna say, "Oh, that's the Tinkerer. That's just the Tinkerer. This is a gnome."
Yeah.
But then you have like Tristana, who is, I have a gun and I shoot well.
Yeah, Tristana is actually a little bit like oddly closer to like a really fluffy dwarf.
Yeah.
Like Tristana's
like, dwarf build for the most part.
Yeah, Heimerdinger is definitely a gnome.
Just do that.
But let's go into these subclasses.
Alrighty.
Okay, Barbarian, Path of the Depths. Encounters with the terrors of the deep can break the minds of the weak-willed, but some forge their trauma into weapons never seen above the waves.
That's not how trauma works.
Nope, not at all.
First thing, folks, at home, that's not how trauma works.
No. Yikes.
Not a great sentence.
I saw that, I was like, wait, they let that?
Honestly, you couldn't, like, here's some quick sensitivity consulting pro bono for you. Walk away from the encounter changed. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's it. Mm-hmm. You could have, like, most die, but some walk away changed. That's it. You could have left it at that.
Yeah. The barbarian who walks this path has survived such an encounter, has gained extraordinary abilities from the experience. Okay. At third level, gift.
Way better to see. The more that sentence goes on. Yeah, and the more the sentence goes on, walked away change is a way better phrasing than forge their trauma into weapons and gain supernatural abilities through PTSD. Yeah.
But it's also made worse because of the sentence before it. Like, if it wasn't for the sentence before it, that sentence would be perfect. Because of the sentence
break the minds of the weak-willed.
Yeah, like that's like, I understand. Like, okay, so here's the thing: if your new product in the year of our Lord 2020 reads like Call of Cthulhu, consider not.
Consider if you were if you were parroting words from that could all be uttered by H.P. Lovecraft, and you're uncritically thinking about it,
just don't.
Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Back up.
Don't get me wrong. Like the Shadow Isles is literally like the Shadow Isles and a lot of the Bilgewater stuff is mindfuckery out of 10.
Yeah, but you don't. You could do mindfuckery without.
But you can do mindfuckery without it being like the mental health trauma aspect.
Yeah,
like there is creepy mindfuckery in a way that is actually terrifying, and not just like trauma, which is not how that
Shadow Isles things that I can think of are like spooky, weird stuff that isn't necessarily like directly like
they feel paranoia is what they're most
exactly.
And like so, and now to get me wrong, like content warning, like killing children.
Yes.
For those of you watching the stream, one of the cards in Legends of Runeterra is a Shadow Isles. Okay, fair enough.
Oh wait, go. Just go. I can't hear you.
Cool.
Go.
For Shadow Isles is a child, is the ghost of a child who tricks people on the island and sort of does horrible mind games with them, to the point where they come home and they are like they cannot, like, it's hard. They are so paranoid they cannot like they are altered and like mind controlled in a way that they cannot differentiate their own children from the spoopy ghost child. Like, creepy? Yes. Mindfuckery? Yes. Gonna bring up in your game? Depends on your lines and veils. Yeah. But it's not this. Like, it is very clearly, like, that is a traumatic experience in which someone comes out changed.
That's something
in a bad way.
Like Bluebeard's
Can I come
Bride
back
or
now?
something.
Right.
Signal? Okay.
Yeah. Like, that's a Bluebeard's Bride concept. But that's a thing you throw in your game. So that's, you have to discuss that. That's an NPC. That's a monster. This is your entire subclass is built around what is trauma, like, but what is trauma, but like survival of the fittest. No, don't do that. Just don't.
And see, folks watching, by the way, this is a great example of how you can do a check-in with somebody. I indicated to John that one of my lines is violence against children. And immediately when I took my headphones off, John was like, should we continue? I was like, just go, explain it. I can't hear you. Then we came back and checked in.
Content warnings are important, it turns out, because it gives people the chance to go, I would rather not.
Yeah. And it's important, like, it's important as on the stream, because like you are the audience. There's 20 of you right now. Who knows how many will or won't watch the VOD later.
Yep.
It's important for them, but also, as you saw here, it's important for the people on the table. Like, even if we weren't on stream, Daniel needed that content warning.
Yep.
For, like, if we were playing League right now and like having a voice chat and someone's like, hey, can I talk about this? We'd be like, hey, let's not, because we're in the middle of a game, we don't take headphones off. Or Daniel will be like, yeah, I can go grab a cup of water. Just do this real quick.
Yeah.
I'll just drop League in the middle of a game and just go get water.
Yeah, please don't. I'll just go AFK. Like, oh no. Okay, so Path of the Depths.
Yes.
That aside.
So honestly, gaining the ability to breathe underwater and swimming speed equal to your walking speed, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. Like, it's a utility level 3 that comes in with an actual level 3.
Yeah, and I also think it's like narratively interesting.
Sure.
It's narratively you've been underwater and you no longer feel that pressure on your chest. Instead, you feel freedom. And I think is really cool to describe.
And Bilgewater being the setting that it is, you will use this ability. It's not one of those
constantly.
Now I'm a treasure hunter. I'm just a treasure hunter.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is a niche ability. In a lot of games, I'd be like,
but
so in a Bilgewater game.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? Is like, because of so actually, really good point. I want to take Daniel's like treasure hunter concept, and I want to talk you through like something real quick. The encounter, like, just erase that flavor text from your face. Like the thing about the trauma, just get rid of it for a hot second. We're going to pretend it never happened. Daniel plays a character who is a Path of Depths and has an encounter with something in the bottom of the reefs, loses something important to him, whether it's memories or like an emotion or a joy of life or something magically stripped from him as part of this character. Now he's a treasure hunter with the ability to dive into the water. So what does he do? He goes diving in the water day after day after
looking
day,
for the thing
looking for the thing he lost. That's a neat fucking character.
But you can't do that. You can't do that with this description, though.
Correct.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's what I would have done. Lost some sort of family heirloom. Lost a companion or a loved one underwater.
Yeah.
Can't do that.
Can't do it.
Dredge line. Sorry, when you choose a path, you manifest an extra appendage when you enter your rage. Cool. This weapon appears as a kraken tentacle, a giant anchor, preternatural jaws, or something else based on your history. Yeah. As a bonus action, you may use this appendage to strike one creature of your choice you see within 15 feet. Target must succeed a strength saving throw, DC equal to A plus the standard.
Yeah, so standard.
Or be pulled up to 10 feet in a line straight towards you.
So this is straight up Nautilus's ability. This class is Nautilus inspired, as I mentioned earlier. Dredgeline is what it's called. He has a giant anchor that does this.
Yep.
Yep.
Ghost Water Dive, 6th level. You burst into water. The material. This is just Pike's ability.
Yep.
Yep.
Don't know why it's on Nautilus, but here we are.
Well, they just thought like, any underwater abilities that might be cool.
Yeah, this is the thing that I get.
This is picking and choosing from heroes.
Yeah, from different heroes put together. I'll talk about a whole philosophy about that later. I'll capstone with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, end it with that. Because your opinions are different from mine, as I am new to League.
Sure.
I also just think this is really interesting, but only in the context of
Bilgewater. I will say that for like, I think Path of the Depths to me is like the most solid class that they put out for sure. Like it's synergistic with itself. It works. It functions well. It has its own built-in action economy as a barbarian, because you're going to use bonus action once to rage, and then you will bonus action angry anchor for the rest of the game, and that's fine. And Ghost Water Dive and Depth Charge both work really well, and Arms of the Deep and Depth and Dredgeline give you something to do, even if you do that every turn, because it's always based on your action. As an action, you'll always have those things, and you'll have a bonus action to do afterwards that doesn't rely on your attacks, which is cool to me. I like that. That's synergistic. And
so I wonder if you see this too.
Yeah.
But Ghost Water Dive is interesting to us because we know what it visually is supposed to look like by playing League. But if you're a new person to D&D and you're reading this, you're like, what the fuck? You burst into water, then materialize somewhere else. It doesn't make sense to somebody who doesn't know what League is.
It feels weird that it's on a barbarian.
Yep.
That too. What I would have done, if this is a rogue ability, and I would have said you could teleport between pools of water.
So I have an issue with that because of the same issue I have with the shadow.
Because it's the shadow. It's the shadow.
It's the shadow rogue, right? Now, what I like about Ghost Water Dive is it allows you to magically teleport, and more importantly, you make the reason why I know this can't. The reason why this is way too strong for a rogue class is it gives you an attack.
Yes.
And it moves every turn. It gives you a third for teleport because it's Pike, and that means you get a, at will Misty Step that doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity with a sneak attack every round, because there's no limit on Ghost Water Dive at all. Which, frankly, that's awesome.
Could be a high level ability for a rogue.
I don't think this is not a level 6 ability.
No,
this is like a level 10 ability, and I think what I would like, if we're gonna go over what I would do if I were designing it again, since I did this Misfortune, I'd move some of the manifestations of the deep to level 6. I'd move Ghost Water Dive to level 10, and then say at level 14 you get to pick 2 more manifestations of the deep, or like another manifestation. So you have the one that you start with, because you can only pick one, and then you get Ghost Water Dive at 10 because that's a broken ability. It's hysterically fun, and then you get Depth Charge, which augments your Ghost Water Dive, and then also gives you another manifestation, because like one of them is not that great for the class anyways.
Yeah.
I do like how Depth Charge turns Ghost Water Dive very explicitly into a barbarian ability, though. That is neat.
Absolutely it does.
Depth Charge is like the bonus for
but until your 14th level, it doesn't feel thematically like a barbarian
because I feel
ability.
like it should come later in the tree, because it's very clearly you've got Dredgeline, and then you've got Dredgeline Augment, and then you've got Ghost Water Dive, which is this new ability that's weird, and then you have Barbarian Ghost Water Dive, which I think is cooler than like the progression you have currently.
Because this is 14th level, and then
at will Misty Step is not a 6th level ability. I'm sorry,
6th,
like that's way too good.
Yeah, because like at 6th level, you are not incentivized to do anything but like dash past someone, and then maybe Dredgeline someone away from your teammates, or Dredgeline like a wizard.
Well, that's what you do, right? Is you Ghost Water Dive over there, you slap someone, you Ghost Water Dive, and then you pull them, and then you go slap them, you Ghost Water Dive, and you pull them again. And it's actually a really cool controller aspect, but I'd want to be able to do it.
Can you imagine raging? Can you imagine raging and Ghost Water Dive? That would be insane. Plus this Dredgeline, like you said, be insane.
Like, it's a really neat thematic ability. The only problem I have is that the way Depth Charge is written, it's Riptide, not Depth Charge.
Yep.
That being said, personally, I think Riptide's a cooler name. I think you just call it Riptide and move on.
Yep.
because that's like Nautilus's depth charge, for those of you who don't play League of Legends, is a targeted thing that travels along the ground, knocking up everyone in its path, and then knocks somebody further away from him. Riptide is he does like a squat, and like water just bursts out of his armor and explodes outwards in a boom, 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 like three-step thing.
Hold on, I got it.
Yeah.
So I think a version of this is you get Riptide early without macro. It's just a damage ability.
Okay.
Then you get Ghost Water Dive, and then you get Depth Charge, which is an upgrade to Riftwalk, or like to Riptide, specifically at the end of a Ghost Water Walk for a knockup. Like, and then your class is built up to one thing. Where like, you can just Riptide whenever to do some damage.
Yeah, that's really. I mean, I think that's honestly cooler than. Okay, so the problem.
But then this is taking it way more into the hardcore war game sort of category. Do you think?
I don't think.
I have no qualms with that. I think
you can say
pulling
someone towards you and then teleporting around, being an annoying like barbarian that's just like yanking people across the battle is, I think, it's cinematic enough that you can do it with a story-based narrative, right?
Yeah, if you throw away any of the all the numbers here, if you take out the numbers, you can teleport, you can pull people towards you, you can knock people up at the end of your teleport. That's fun. Like without the ranges. That's just a fun set of abilities, which is honestly a really fun class to picture. Like I'm just thinking of a librarian doing this. That sounds fun.
So I made the Daniel mistake and I just read ahead.
Oh no.
To Renegade.
Shall we go to Renegade then?
Last thing I want to say about barbarian.
Yeah, go for it.
This is where the whole problem with this class starts to come up. With like the way this is designed, I think for me starts to come up, because you have Path of the Depths, which is Nautilus and Pike and Alawi and maybe Tom Kench, all kind of slammed together into one class. And I will say this at the start, and this, to me, the problem I have with this is, as a League player at least, and even as a D&D player, this is the antithesis of design as I see it in D&D and League, where champions are supposed to fulfill a specific power fantasy in the same way that specific classes and subclasses are supposed to fill a specific power fantasy. This does like 3 of them at once and like kind of wishy-washy.
Yep.
I'm just going to say water puns all day because it's really easy here. But like this is the problem I started to have with this when I was reading it, was it's got some like Ghost Water Dive into Depth Charge
combos
is a
here.
neat concept.
Yeah.
And it's attached to a class that's doing 2 other different things when I want the class to be about that, which means what I actually want is Pike.
There's a lack of focus here.
Ghost Water Dive, you're right, is not actually Pike's ability, it's Tom Kench's ult.
Yeah, it's the Tom Kench ult. It's like it's not even.
There's another Bilgewater character that we have not mentioned.
Which is another Bilgewater character. Tom Kench is a like.
But the way it looks here, it looks like Pike's ability.
Right. The way it's written is the name was written to sound like Pike, and it's actually Tom Kench, because D&D doesn't do at will invisible swimmy movement.
Yeah, totally.
At 6th level is actually worse.
Yep.
For sure. And so like. Actually, it's technically not even like invisible, really. It's like if you want to go lore, it's like an ethereal plane blink movement thing.
I wonder if there were like limitations on how many classes they could put in here. Like, I wonder if they were like, hey.
And we don't know the behind the scenes or what happens.
Yeah. Sure. And so like this is the thing where like I understand like there's a lot of production that goes into this, but this is where I think it starts to break down as a D&D product and not just an advertisement.
Yeah, like as we mentioned earlier, I think there's around 9 champions in Bilgewater. You have 9 classes. Go for it.
Yeah, but
and sometimes some of them aren't even worth making again, right? Like we were talking, like a friend and I were talking about design. There's no reason to make Talon or Katarina or Akali into anything that isn't just a rogue. They're just rogues, right? There's no reason to make a new cloud class for them, really. If you wanted to, you make the Steel Wind subclass, and that turns into like a neat like flurry kind of AoE rogue, which we don't really have as an archetype, which is cool. But that's like it.
This is where like you start getting into the territory of one of the fun things in Pathfinder of like the class variants you can select.
Or like this is where you get
gunslinger,
like prestige classes and all that other stuff. And
but they took that away. They took that away though.
This is where 5th edition starts to break down. Whereas you specialize more and more, you start to lose it.
Like the Arcane Archer fucking sucks in 5th edition.
God, I wish it was good. Anyway, so all right, let's talk about the Renegade.
The Arcane Archer hurts me because you could make Ash with the old Arcane Archer.
You could. You really could.
You really could, but you can't. You can't not with the current one.
Yeah. Like Ash would have been a perfect one for that, actually. Yeah. Ash would have been a great one.
So Renegade is one that, like, I'm looking at it in just the first paragraph. I'm like, this is not for people who Like, this is neither for League fans nor for D&D fans.
It's a swashbuckler with a gun.
It's a swashbuckler with a gun, but it's like, okay, well, first of all, like, from an editorial perspective, what is hex tech?
Yep.
Because you don't describe that anywhere else. You talk about how they build their own custom firearms, yet the entire firearms section of this is not good. It's just not good. Also, somebody who builds some sort of range attack, that was just your Unearthed Arcana Artificer. That was your Artificer.
That's...
this is not a rogue.
So... Actually, here's the reason why I'm really annoyed at the subclass. Not because I don't think it's anybody's fault. That's why I have a specific gripe with WotC here.
Okay.
The Artificer is the only other class to exist outside of the base classes and is not in the SRD.
Yep.
Because it's an expansion class. However, it is, as I think WotC has said this a couple times, they don't plan to release other classes. So why the hell isn't the Artificer in the SRD with all of the other design toolkits?
Yeah, because they wanted to make it. They wanted to put it in the Eberron book,
which is like, I get that. That's fine. Now you've done that. Thing. Put it over there now. Like, Eberron's been out for a hot chunk of minute. Like,
I think it has to do with what is supposed to go in the SRD. Like, it hasn't been updated in a very long time, as we all know. Yeah. But yeah, this Renegade feels just like this is just an Artificer, rogue, swashbuckler.
Okay.
Like, gunfighter form? Why did you call it gunfighter form if they make their own firearms? Like, this sounds like we're doing gun kata.
I mean, also, it's got to jump ahead.
Like, sure. One of the flavor texts they give is, they talk about how, like, the Renegades have flashy gunplay that they boast a lot, and that like is a facade.
Sure.
For like power, which is cool flavor. Where is that?
But it's also telling you that this is one way to play the Renegade.
Yeah, but also where's the like any mechanic for like doing some like flashy thing to distract your opponent?
Like a taunt.
Yeah.
Or you get a free...
Like a swashbuckler?
Yeah,
Hammer?
like a swashbuckler.
You mean like a swashbuckler,
Panache?
What, you mean like my favorite rogue subtype?
I mean, same. Personally, yes. But like, okay, so, and here's the problem, right? So we're running out of time. So I want to speed
What I
through...
don't like is that they make the gunfighter forms and the firearms that you use. First of all, there's pistolier and sniper. There's no rifle. Yet they've introduced a rifle on only one NPC. So rifles are supposed to exist, yet you can't get them even as a renegade.
Okay, so actually, I want to touch on this because this is really important to D&D design. It was why so remember I mentioned guns at the beginning, folks. Welcome to the gun monk zone. This is what I do.
Gun monks.
So the pistoliers written out, what they do is this. Make it pistolier form wields a small flintlock handgun. As an action, you can target a creature within 30 feet, make a ranged attack roll. You are proficient. On a hit, the attack deals piercing damage equal to 1d6 plus your dex. The number of shots you can fire during a single action increases when you reach higher levels in the subclass. 2 shots at 5, 3 shots at 11, and 4 shots at 20. The shots can target the same creature or different creatures. Make a separate attack roll for each shot. That is the attack action!
Yup.
That is what the fighter does! And so what you get is a pistolier subclass that gives you these actions. And so when you look at the fighter that has extra actions up the wahoo on its like level up trait, you're like, what do I do with these?
You're shittier.
What are these? No, you're not even shittier. It's actually just the attack action. Yeah. The reason why I hate it is because it ties the gun to an ability and not to
an object?
A gun.
Well, that's what I was saying. I'm saying, like, these sound more like styles, and they're not supposed to be. You wield a weapon.
It's a gun. You're a fighter with a gun. You can shoot 4 times. That's this entire 3rd level ability.
And then they talk about firearm upgrades. Now, that doesn't make sense because you don't even have a gun to begin with.
Well, you do have a gun. It's just tied to
your abilities. No, but it's not an item. It's an ability.
Right.
It's
tied to your abilities and it upgrades your ability. Like, I don't know why they did this rather than just making like a pistol that does 1d6. Well,
because they didn't want to give people the ability to get guns.
It's fine. I get it, but you're in Runeterra. You're not in Forgotten Realms. Everyone, rapid fire cannon is an item.
And then they'd have to make a statement and say that guns are not AL legal. And
well, this isn't AL legal. They don't have to make a statement about anything. Okay.
You know how I feel about AL.
I mean, same. I was in it for a long time. So, and this is why, and I have gun problems because of the way AL handles guns. For those of you who don't know, AL gave you a musket in Curse of Strahd because it was in the book and therefore it was legal in Adventures League play, which means they had to make a judgment for it. If you don't know the stats of a crossbow, or the stats of a musket, it's a 1d12 crossbow, so 1 average damage higher than a heavy crossbow. Thank you, Emma, for the numbers. With less than half the range. Okay? The way that Adventures League chose to handle that was to say, you can have a musket as a treat, but you will never have proficiency with it on any character whatsoever, which meant you got a crappier crossbow because you couldn't add your dex modifier and proficiency to hit stuff with it.
It's stupid that you could never have proficiency on it. It makes no sense.
Right. And so what this is, again, guns aren't items. We don't care. We don't want them in our D&D, even though they're in the DMG for no... Anyway, but here's also the problem. The sniper archetype isn't just a gun. It's an ability tied to a gun, right? It's an ability tied to the form of a gun. You're proficient with the attack, and on a hit, the attack deals piercing damage equal to 1d10 plus your dex modifier. You deal extra damage when using this form when you reach higher levels, dealing damage equal to 2d10 at 5, 4d10 at 11, and 6d10 at 20. That is a sneak attack!
I was about to say, this is fancy
sneak
That's
attack.
a rogue sneak attack built as an ability that you had to reflavor as an action in a pistolier fighter subclass. The sniper is a rogue. I'm sorry. That's it.
Yep.
Like, that's the end of our discussion.
Is a rogue assassin with a
rogue assassin with the fancy gun that only you could use because only you could use it because it's an ability.
And so this is the problem I have is when you see these this is where it starts to fall apart, because weapon of choice, that's an artificer class. You can customize your gun. That's just an artificer thing for that one, like the thunder cannon archetype from the UA, right? Which isn't there anymore, and I'm very sad it's not.
Yep.
Cunning shot. That's a neat ability, except the damage dealt by your firearm, including damage dealt by firearm upgrades, which is important.
Ignores
resistances and immunities. It's a magical weapon.
Artificer.
It's a magic weapon. So more importantly, now the one thing that it does that's really cool is it makes it so that like your firearm upgrades and your in the stuff and like the actions you get from that also ignore resistance and immunities, which is neat. That's cool. I dig it.
Oh, look at that. Sorry, I just read Grin and Barrett.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Grin and Barrett is a neat fucking feature. I'm sorry. Like, that's cool.
That's cool.
But the damage dealt by your firearm ignores resistance immunities. Okay, so it's a gun. That's magic. It's a magic weapon. That's all it is. It's an item that exists. The problem... Nothing on the goddamn DMG or the monster manual, as far as I can tell, has an immunity to piercing damage. It's specifically only to fire and lightning and all those other things that come in the upgrades. So what you could have said was none of this. You could have just said damage you deal ignores immunities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then like your gun is magic.
Well, this is maybe for future things.
I was gonna say though, I feel like there's a version of the Renegade that's almost pretty much the same, but is reflavored as you are like a class with a conjured weapon of some kind.
Right.
That you can conjure at will.
Yeah.
That would be
like
cool.
a spectral weapon.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is my weapon that is magic at a high level.
That'd
I
be
can
sick.
conjure it whenever. That's why it's only tied to me.
It's a gun, and you get it at the top.
Yeah.
And you can pick these two archetypes, and then you can do your artificering all up at the front. This is your gun now.
Honestly, if you're
doing the gun better.
Honestly, if you were an artificer and this was just your hand, and that way you were upgrading your body, that's why nobody else could use it.
Yep. That would also be dope. Now, here's the other issue too. Grin and Barrett is very clearly just like the true grid ability that Graves has. You know, like you get your second wind, you gain your AC because he gains armor when he dashes, and your movement and speed increases. That's cool. That's a Graves thing. Graves is not Misfortune, is not Caitlyn, is not Jinx, is not Jin. Now, that what you want. It is not Gangplank, which is the other one, which is where Light 'em Up comes in, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking ahead to this, you're looking at archetypes. You can't build Graves with this. You can build half of Graves with this, but Graves is closer to Lucian than he is to any of these other characters because they're dashy, short-range 80 carries that prioritize abilities, and that's how Graves and Lucian do. Grin and Barrett is a great ability for like a fighter, and that's great. Cunning shot is a great ability for a rogue. Right gun for the job, weapon of choice. Yeah. All those things are great abilities for an artificer. Yep. Light 'em Up is a great ability for a rogue because we'll get to now that we've gotten there. It's an explosive. It's a trap. It does the thing. It's the thing that Gangplank should be able to do but can't. Theoretically,
12d6 force damage.
It does 12d6 force damage at level 18, though. That's like that's 46 greatest. More than a fireball.
Yeah,
man. Like, okay, it's not great, but fine. You could do it once every short rest. Okay, that's cool. You know what that is? That is at level 18, you make at level 3, you can make an explosive. You can set it as a trap or detonate it, and it scales with your sneak attack.
Yep.
It's a rogue ability.
It's a remote sneak attack. That's all you just call it that.
I wonder. This is actually where like my lack of specific D&D knowledge for what the base is being used here might come in. Like this is explicitly not a fighter archetype; it is a martial archetype. And I wonder if
fighter martial archetypes are the name for fighter archetypes.
For fighter archetypes, that's what they use.
Yeah, that's what they use.
Right.
These are just a collection of abilities that could go on multiple classes.
And I feel like that's okay. This is starting to get into too far down D&D track, but like especially in at least in Pathfinder, with my experience, that feels like the general fighter trap of like fighter is your catch-all, and it's hard to find the cohesive design for any fighter archetype because you were trying to design the fighter to be any melee warrior.
Yes.
Yeah. And
that's how the fighter should
be,
to be honest.
So now there's like honestly, you could have made like this is the cool thing, right? These are all abilities that are super neat that you could like all of these things, and this is where you know that these are a bunch of things that were cherry picked and like sort of smashed together from other League of Legends characters. Caliber net, 90 caliber net. That's Caitlyn's thing.
Caitlyn.
Collateral damage. Your alternate munition has explosive capabilities and deals AOE damage. That's Tristana or Fishbones, Jinx's rocket launcher. Crosshairs is clearly just ace in the hole. It's a sniper thing that gives you advantage. Double barrel. Okay, first off, why is double barrel on a sniper rifle? I'm just going to throw that out there. That doesn't make any sense, but it's just Graves. Cool. Smoke screen, also Graves, right? Major fire grind.
It feels like they're putting on sniper form because Graves' weapon isn't like firing a lot; it's firing heavy shots.
Yeah, but it's like
it's a sniper form. They shouldn't.
You don't 120 feet. Like
you know what? You know what could have fixed this? Instead of saying sniper form, they could have just said long gun.
Yeah. Oh, funny fact. I said that 2 days ago to a friend when we were reviewing this. I'm like, you could have called it long gun. And that would have solved that whole problem.
And you could choose between like more damage and more range as the upgrade. So like Graves would go with more damage. Caitlyn would go like a mix.
With like a mix. Yeah. For sure.
Oh, look, barrage.
That's just bullet time. That's just bullet time. Okay, double up. Let's talk about double up.
When you hit a creature with a successful ranged weapon attack with a firearm, you can immediately cause the bullet to hit another creature. Yep. Within 15 feet of the original.
Cool. That's cool.
The second target takes piercing damage equal to your dex. What?
So, for those of you who don't know anything about League of Legends, double up, when you hit an enemy...
supposed to do more damage?
It does more damage because you've bounced it off of them.
Especially if you kill the first one.
Especially if you kill the first one.
The second target takes... Wait, equal to your dex modifier?
As a fighter.
As a fighter?
Like 5.
Max of 5 damage. That's terrible.
And also, you can only do this a number of times your
charisma,
charisma modifier.
Which makes no sense.
And also, this is a major upgrade. This isn't a minor...
Yeah, this is to be fair, the major upgrades are available at like level 5 for some reason. Like you should just have 2 minors and then a major.
I don't know why it's charisma. Maybe it should be int. Wisdom.
Yeah, it's charisma because misfortune.
Because
like this
but it doesn't make sense.
Don't you know you want them to charisma multi-class with everything? Yeah, Didn't you know that? That's the design philosophy of D&D. We need more things to multi-class with warlocks.
And you regain all expended uses after a short or long rest. Sorry, y'all. I've bounced enough bullets today.
Like exactly. And then like trial by fire is fucking neat. Like that's cool. Like, you deal fire damage equal to half your fire.
Oh, look at that
like,
art.
Okay,
that looks familiar.
Hey, where did you think I got
this?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, right? And so like the trial by fire is a neat one until start whenever you make a successful attack, you deal extra fire damage equal to your fire level rounded up. That's cool on the pistolier. That's an extra 10 damage per attack. That's super cool, actually. And I know what it is, and it's Gangplank Sword. Yeah. That's also cool.
Yep. Well, but again, you're not building these different. You're not able to build these characters like you said. You're able to build parts of them.
Yeah, you're able to build a character that is.
Well, this is just the selective cherry picking of abilities and thematic elements from characters, and kind of mashing them together into one generic.
This is where
gunslinger.
This is the part to me where where I look at this thing and go, this is an advertisement. Gotcha.
Yep.
And I hate that because I really think there's a lot of really good nuggets of stuff in here. Like a double up would be super cool if you could if you do that thing, make a second attack roll against a target behind it. If it does that, it does damage.
And WotC's going to do another one of these, and they're going to be like, okay, Hearthstone time.
Yeah.
Or like they're going to do another faction.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah. But like I can definitely see a younger me, like especially when I was actively reading League lore, or but a version of me that didn't do that, who saw this and was like, hey, these sound cool. I want to know more about where this comes from. Like, as an advertisement, I can see this being an effective product in that regard.
Yeah, but
Now,
if you're gonna target a group of people who are to play Legends of Runeterra, you could just put ads anywhere else.
Yes.
As marketing strategy, why would you pick something so specific?
I mean, I guess the answer is that like you kind of target some of the Magic audience because like WotC, right? Like you're trying to pull in people who are inclined to card games.
But the Magic audience aren't on D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
They're on Magic Arena,
yeah.
which is a competitor to Legends of Runeterra.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's an odd tie-in.
So
I mean, it's welcome.
Yeah.
This is interesting stuff, and there's some cool bits here. Like I really like some of this stuff because I wouldn't have.
In inspiring me to play a League of Legends, a Runeterra World tabletop game, which I haven't done in a while.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll play one.
Yeah, the problem I have with this is right. It's like I'm running a pirate game right now, and I will absolutely admit I have shamelessly lifted so much of the Bilgewater lore because it's super cool.
Yeah.
I have no reason to use any of this over the stuff that I've homebrewed already. And that's sad to me. Like I really want to like this, and I'm going to specifically talk about the wild card in a second because the wild card I think is one of the coolest thematical things I've ever seen.
I was wondering if y'all would let me like sort of take a little bit of point on that.
Yeah, because I know you like Twisted Fate.
No, like Path of the Depths is Daniel, Renegade is me screaming for like 20 minutes. Go on it.
Go.
All right. So if my background hasn't given it away, I really like this character Twisted Fate, who's one of the characters I play the most in League of Legends, and is the one that the roguish archetype wildcard is based off of, mostly. So the wildcard archetype starts with tricks up the sleeve. You choose at 3rd level you get the guidance cantrip, and then at 9th level it has 30 feet range, and you can cast it as a bonus action. And I think guidance is what you give them an extra D4. You just manipulate luck
on skill checks. Yep,
that's pretty cool. Like you're just there messing with reality. That's fun. That's fun for like a person who loads dice and who always gambles. Then you get the like core of the class, which is Wildcard's Gambit. So you choose one gaming set to gain proficiency with: dice set, dragon chess set, or playing card set. Dragon chess sounds cool. Dice pretty standard. Wildcard's Gambit, dice set. Wildcard's Gambit, dragon chess set. It feels like a situation where like it's very clear this class is based on Twisted Fate. It's going for the playing card is the core identity of this class, but then they give you other options, which I understand. Like it's the whole flexibility thing, but this
is a League of Legends tie-in. It's you're going to be inflexible at certain points. Yeah, this is one of those points.
Yep, and like the dice set and dragon chess set aren't based off of any champion in Bilgewater, really.
No, that's D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are just D&D.
Well, no, the
loaded dice is like if you want to play like Tulio and Miguel from like and I guess Eldorado, but like that's the best I can think of, right?
So like real quick, loaded dice basically just gives you damage resistance equal to your sneak attack damage, essentially. Like you can roll your sneak attack to avoid some damage, which is a really cool ability. Like that's a fun ability for a more mobile tanky rogue, because you load like it's tied to loaded dice because you're always prepared. You've always got a backup plan. Super cool. No one in League is really does that. Dragon chess, you become a tactician. It's got some interesting like alternate effects and flexibility of like you can kind of manipulate the battlefield a little bit to your will. You kind of get some like echoes to 4th E Warlord in a couple of these.
But does that feel like it's straying away from what this class is?
Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's Mastermind Plus, right? Yeah. Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I like that's what.
It's not.
But I don't know. But that's not Twisted Fate.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Like it's Swain, maybe, but it's definitely not like TF. TF's an idiot.
The part that I like really love, which is the playing card one, because this is actually a pretty good translation of the Twisted.
This is what you want.
Yeah, like this is the one that I came like when I first heard about this. I'm like, I'm gonna open this immediately. I read nothing else. I read straight to here, which is the playing cards. So you get it actually says you developed a fighting style based around the cartomancy of the Serpent Isles. So it's explicitly cartomancy, which is cool. You have your own deck of enchanted cards and can make their edges razor sharp with a flick of your wrist. Your Gambit from X-Men.
Yep.
If you have not used your sneak attack this turn, you can use your action to take one of these cards and attack a creature within 30 feet of it. This attack roll is 1d4 plus dex and adds some fancy effects. You roll 1d4 for which card, which is actually kind of fun. There's some
that's cool
randomness, which makes sense because you're gambling, right? It's a wild card. So the first one is Blade. You basically just do your sneak attack and then do half of it if the opponent survives all the way to the next round. So it's a 1.5 sneak attack, just some damage. Shackle. I'm going to skip that one. Heart. You roll your sneak attack and add it to your Razor card's damage. Then you get temporary hit points. That's cool. You've got some like flexibility and tankiness. Wild Ace, which lets you choose one from the other three based on what you want. And then Shackle, which doesn't do anything extra. It doesn't even apply base snake attack. But the target's speed is halved, and they can't make more than one attack while its speed is reduced this way, which is really cool utility. Like
you use that and you're fighting the boss Misfortune.
Yeah, Misfortune now has one attack. That's awesome. Like these map pretty well to Twisted Fate's free like wild cards. Like in the game, he has a blue card, a yellow card, and a red card, which all offer different utilities for him, and these map to that in a really like not perfect, but in a way that makes sense for D&D. I love that.
It's cool.
One of the funnest things
now, and the weird part, it's one of those things that's really interesting to me because they had to rewrite so much of the mechanical language for this. Like, this is a thing that does sneak attack, but it doesn't do sneak attack because it has to make an attack action that isn't an attack action. That if you didn't use sneak attack, what is going on here?
This is where you become limited by your existing system.
Yeah, and honestly, I think you could just say when you roll your thing, do this. Like when you roll an attack action. With this deck, do this thing, and then say that Blade and Heart have. And the problem is, what it does is Blade and Heart can roll sneak attack even when you don't have sneak attack.
Yeah,
that's interesting to me. That the fact that you can do that is super cool. But it's just funky.
Yeah. The other thing then that comes in is like they limit it to a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, which is kind of a balance thing. But also, this is the most interesting part about this rogue. Like if I'm playing
I want to do this all the time.
As soon as I'm out of use of my cards, I'm going to go take a long rest. We can be in the middle of the boss. I'm going for a long rest.
Well, you could do that if you use Shifting the Odds. Which is... you teleport 120 feet.
And go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah, like literally, if I'm playing the wildcard rogue, once I'm out of these cards, that the most fun part of my kit is gone. I'm going to take a nap. I'm gone.
For sure.
You can catch me in the next fight.
Yep, and you're going to deal a ton of damage.
I feel like you just make it like, hey, you don't get multi-attacks with this rogue. Or I don't know, like you get one attack, right? You get just one attack every round, but it gets this, and you can do it every round. That's fun,
Yeah.
Yeah, because you if you have a limited number of uses, then you're de-incentivized from actually using these abilities because you're afraid of wasting them.
Especially because it's only on a long rest. It's not even a short rest. And that's like 5 per long rest on a dungeon. That's nothing. Like
that's a lot of time to waste.
Yeah. For sure. And like I think it's not I don't even think it's useful because like you're already limited by the fact that most of these things base off your sneak attack die, right? Except for Shackle, because Shackle is the problem with the scaling, right? Because it doesn't scale, it scales an effect, and that effect is great. But that effect also scales with the creatures you're going to be fighting because a lot of things don't have multi-attack until you start hitting later levels anyway.
Yeah.
So why is this important? Right, and then your sneak attack damage will increase through level and all that other stuff too. So you're just saying this is an artificial gate to a balance problem that is kind of already affected by the balance of where these abilities come in. You don't need them. I really don't think you need them. With the exception that Shackle is one of those weird things that doesn't have a save, which is fine. But also like half your sneak attack damage next turn. Woo! Like okay.
So is this Joker Wild? Is
we'll get this.
Is that a part of Twisted Fate's kit?
Not even remote.
Not even close, right?
Yeah. Nope. So real quick, Shifting the Odds is the next one. That one is basically Twisted Fate's.
Right, as a note, I have like 3 minutes left, so
okay.
I'm here as long as I can.
Super fast. Destiny, you just teleport. They added some damage to it. It's pretty cool. It's an escape. It's a fun, dramatic escape. Twisted Fate, you have the ability to choose your place in initiative. That can be kind of interesting. It gives you some flexibility. Joker Wild is a part of this that makes me actually like, why? Because it's not even just not Twisted Fate. John and I were talking about this.
Yeah.
We can't identify a champion.
So that's actually just Pike or Kane.
Yeah. maybe, not 100%, maybe.
Yeah. Like, so like the regaining expended power thing is a Kane specific move. When he goes into the wall, he gets a reset on his passive and like can do more damage. Movement speed is doubled. Pike gains a movement speed when he goes in corporal. That's cool.
You're resistant
you can move
to
through
damage.
Objects as if they were, you're resistant to damage. Not really, but Pike has some health mechanics that makes sense. And you're immune to grappled. Not really, but like, okay, cool. You can move through object creatures if they were difficult to read. That's Kane. That's a Kane ability, right? So it's like a fusion of Kane and Pike's ability on an archetype where you're like, what is, you're a goat, like Joker's Wild is a great ability for a Ghost Water dive rogue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. For the
Again, there's one thing about it that's really cool with Twisted Fate, and then the rest of it's kind of like, oh.
Yeah, it's like
it's an odd addition.
All my cards back. That's fun. Like if I have Joker Wild, I can throw all.
But you're already 17th level.
Yeah. And so now you get to have them. You can have 10 uses of these a day as a treat. Like level 17.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, nah.
So we know that, John. We know you got to go. We know that time is limited. We gotta put all of your socials on the screen.
Yeah.
But I wanna ask, like, what's the verdict on this?
The verdict on this is, at least for me, I love a lot of the ideas they came up with. Like, there's some really cool stuff in here. There's a lot of really cool, neat things that I think if you expanded it out and made a bit and put and like had a bit more intentionality to the way you designed things for specific choices, would have worked a lot better for me. Like Razak was saying, a Ghost Water dive rogue would be super sick. And I think honestly, maybe that's what we do. Maybe we do another stream of this and we say, okay, let's take a look at what we build as a Pike or like a Kane style rogue.
Let's try to make these characters
just from the stuff they have here.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Let's do a stream where we just use the D&D Beyond stuff. We'll get it, set up a campaign, and we'll try to make League of Legends characters using this.
Yeah. I'm like, that sounds like a fun thing to me, because I think, and that's the thing, right? There are so many pieces and puzzle pieces in here that are great for a toolbox, but the ways they're put together don't make sense to me.
Yeah. How about you?
Are fun.
I think that for me, like the highlight is the first chapter we read, right? There's a lot of
the world.
Like, the lore. And
I'm
to be clear, like, yes, a lot of this lore already exists from League, but the framing of it here is really well done. The tables are just a joy. Like, a lot of the encounters are really cool. Those are stuff that, like, the original content there is really solid. Like, if you were and someone who's reading this who doesn't know League, your first intro is probably going to be the first chapter. You're not going to jump straight to the subclass.
Yeah.
Probably going to read the lore. And if the goal is to hook you into the world of Runeterra and Bilgewater, I think it does great at that.
Fantastic. Yeah.
The mechanics back half, you can just watch the last 2 hours.
Yeah. I have the exact same thing. Like, I think both of you are super into, League of Legends. I mean, I'm into it now, but your level of knowledge is vastly superior to mine. We all love TTRPGs. We all love D&D. I think this does the world building in a way that is very D&D. I love it. I love the tables.
For sure.
The Beasts of Bilgewater, forgettable. Honestly, I think they're pretty forgettable.
Powder monkeys are cool. That's it.
Powder monkeys are cool.
Powder monkeys are cool.
I will remember powder monkeys.
I'll remember
that's the
powder
one
monkey.
thing I've remembered. Yeah.
And I will remember the disappointment that is Misfortune, Gangplank, and Ledros. The classes, I think, are just, they suffer from their adherence to the D&D class that they are coming from. They suffer from being the fighter, the barbarian, and the rogue, and
not even enough. I think.
Or they don't.
Right?
Maybe they suffer in that they are not close enough to who they were inspired by. This is not League of Legends enough.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
And what is League of Legends? Very specific champions, very specific characters, very specific sets of abilities.
Good game design for like TTRPG stuff too. Like, specific design isn't a bad thing.
No,
especially for a game like D&D, which is overloaded with a lot of options. Having specific designs at this point in the game is not bad.
Yeah. Yep. Many-Eyed Monster actually made a really good point with, there is an adventure in the book that we skipped over in chapter 4. I think that's a cool thing to, maybe we should take a look at that on like a part 2.
Maybe we should do a part 2 or part 3.
And we should play the adventure.
Well, what I was going to say is maybe we should make characters and then play the adventure using those characters.
I dig that a lot. I think that's really cool.
Boom, we're going to do that. Let's find a cast. Let's get it popping.
I'm down. That sounds good.
Okay. We'll see all of y'all in the Discord. I know, John, you got to go.
Yeah, I got to run, but
bye, everyone.
I enjoyed this a lot, folks. Peace.
Peace.